Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 1.3 is approval of the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and the agenda is approved. Item 1.4 is input from the public. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public, if any, and discussion of those comments. In the interest of privacy and due process, the public is requested to not raise personnel issues except in a legally noticed closed personnel session of the board. Comments are limited to 3 consecutive minutes. A speaker's time may not be reserved, divided, apportioned, or deferred. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under the item of the agenda until the matter itself has been included specifically on an agenda as an item upon which action will be taken. This is a non-action item. Is there anyone who wishes to make a comment? All right, we will move to item 2.1, review and possible approval of renewal proposal from Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool in caps, and approval of payment for FY 22-23 from the general fund.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. For the record, my name is Alan Cult. I am the Chief Financial Officer for Pool Pact, and I want to start out by thanking you for your membership. We are owned by the members, and I have a presentation, and it's my understanding that you guys have graciously allowed us some time to give a detailed presentation due to the newness of the board. If I could get some IT support to get it popped up.
Ray, do you have
Oh,
the clicker? Is this?
no, that's not it. So it was on that thumb drive that I had.
Yes.
This thing is hard to use.
It is.
Is Charles doing it? I think we are.
What's next? It's the PowerPoint.
Yeah, Elko, MVP Elko right there. Yes, sir.
Want me to sit here?
You know, I could probably push. Thank you so much. So while it's loading, this is Jeopardy. Just kidding. I always want to do that.
Now you've done it. Woo.
Glad we could provide.
Sure, we'll move that up too.
And hopefully I can answer the questions in the bonus round for you guys. Well, that's a sensitive mouse. Wow. With a guy that had a monster before the meeting, I can. Yeah, that mouse is very, very sensitive. And once I get going, I'm going to use the go arrow, I think. Yes. Thank you. So again, for the record, Alan Cult with the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool and also the Public Agency Workers' Comp program, PACT. You guys are a member of Pool. You currently are not a member of PACT. What we are is we're a member services consortium that provides interactive risk management services to our members. We are member governed. We're stewards of the public assets, your money. We're committed to quality member services. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about those services. We're focused on the future. We excel in innovative solutions that help our members serve the public, help you serve the members of Elko, the kids of Elko, the students, the parents. We believe in financial strength, stability, and security within our organization. We provide cost-effective risk sharing and risk financing opportunities for our members. And we have interactive claims service, and we believe in members sharing resources. I'm going to talk about all of those as we go through and give examples in the presentation. On our website at poolpact.com, there's an About tab, and there's a 6-minute video. And I'm not going to do that, but I want to challenge you. A homework assignment is go listen to that video, 6 minutes. It talks about how we were formed, all the services that we provide, and it's member school districts, folks that provided input, that provided things that we should be doing for schools that is included in that video. We also provide insurance, okay? We provide up to $300 million of property loss for Elko County School District. And your total insured values that you guys have is almost $1 billion, $484 million of property, okay? We provide flood and earthquake coverage up to $150 million, okay? Those that are in flood zone A, $25 million. We provide general liability, $10 million limits, okay? We have auto liability, wrongful acts, including SAM cases, sexual abuse and molestation, okay? We provide cyber risk coverage, okay? In a market that's shrinking and not providing those services in that level of coverage, we have $3 million of coverage with a $15 million pool aggregate. We provide terrorism, property and casualty insurance, environmental, and for school districts, we provide student accident coverage. So you say student accident coverage. I just want to share a quick story. Somebody I know in a district outside of the great state of Nevada, because our members that are within the insurance pool here for school districts in Nevada, we have student accident. Their child was injured on a playground and had a severe fracture. Had that happened at a Nevada public agency insurance pool member, had that happened in Elko, they would have had $25,000 of accident insurance after a $250 deductible, whether or not they had insurance or not. This individual actually was underinsured or uninsured, so they have no insurance. They would have been able to negotiate with the hospital that bill, but instead that person's going through medical bankruptcy right now because their child got hurt on the playground. I have a feeling that school district is going to get sued. And what we decided at Pool Pack, based on the recommendations of one of the school districts, is we ought to provide this coverage for all the school districts. Buy it on a bulk basis, Costco discount, if you will, so that the underinsured, so those people could participate in school activities. They could be on the football team, the basketball team, the different sports. They could travel on school things. If they didn't have coverage, they would have this level of insurance coverage. That's one of these unique things that your membership, and a great example of Costco pricing that provides that coverage. So when you're, if one of your star athletes, one of your basketball players gets hurt, okay, they can work with the coverage and help cover that cost. So your athletic director at the high school level should be very familiar with this program, because a lot of times that's what happens, where a lot of accidents do happen is in the field of competition. It could also happen at the academic Olympics. It could happen if a school bus accident happened while you were taking elementary kids were going on a field trip, the student accident, that coverage would be in place. Just wanted to highlight that particular one. So if we look at our overall budget, nearly 75% of our total pool budget goes to pay claims, okay? The next largest portion is almost 9% is member services. Services that we provide to our districts. Okay, I had mentioned that we're member-owned, member-governed. Our school district representatives are Dan Murphy from Pershing County School District. He's a safety officer. Ann Sear is the safety and risk director for the city of Carson City School District. And then on our workers' comp program, we have Mr. Paul Johnson. You may know Paul. He's the finance director for White Pine County School District, and he's very instrumental in the school funding formula as it relates to school districts. These people serve on the board of directors of our program. So now what I'd like to do is kind of walk through the Elko County School District. You've been a member since 1987. We appreciate your membership. You're one of 15 rural school districts that are a member of our program. I want to talk a little bit about the history, talk about accountability services. We're going to walk through some claims and some recommendations. So the history of Pool Pact, okay? We started in the early 80s during the insurance crisis, okay? What happened was Pershing County's insurance, their cost of insurance went from $25,000 to $200,000. Pershing County, Lovelock, Nevada. They didn't have those financial resources, okay? So we ended up going to the legislature. Our executive director, Wayne Carlson, got the legislative language changed in NRS that allowed for the development of pools. The pool was organized We had 4 initial members led off by Pershing County. And today, in 2022, we have over 133 members within pools. The members include schools, cities, counties, special districts, and hospitals. Okay. And again, our total insured values, actually your insured values was $484.5 million. If we work at the workers' comp program, our workers' comp pact got established in 1996. And then Governor Miller decided to balance the CIS budget on the backs of local governments instead of private businesses. And the insurance rates, workers' comp rates on CIS for cities, counties, school districts, and governmental entities was enormous. So we followed the model of the pool. We developed a workers' comp program. We had 50 folks sign up in the first year. Currently, we have 90 members. And I know you guys are self-insured. We'd welcome you to consider that as an option. Our program is centered about accountability. You know, and here's a quote: accountability, it is not only what we do, but also what we do not do, for which we are accountable. So as an organization, we challenge our members to do things, to do the right thing, to do the best you can. We challenge ourselves. We have oversight by the Division of Insurance that monitors pool impact. We have to file quarterly reports, financial statements with them, the audit reports, okay? We also submit ourselves to the Excellence Recognition Program of the Association of Government Risk Pools, AGRIP. It's an association of all the pooled governments, pooled insurance programs across the United States, Canada, and Australia. And we just recently got recertified for excellence within that program on both pool and pact. That certification is good for 3 years. We at Pool Pact, we followed and did our loss control excellence program ourselves. We submitted ourselves to SCAT's consultation for our office buildings and stuff to make sure that we have the right programs in place that we challenge our members to have in place. And we also work with the same third-party administrator, Davies. The power of the pool, the value. Why are you guys members? Okay. Our pool members utilize our Absorb e-learning, okay, or Safe Schools Vector Solutions e-learning, okay. We provide cybersecurity, education and risk management grants available to our members. We have HR, HR business partner assigned to the district, Neil Freakus. He is a retired HR director that for Lyon County, and now he's helping all the different counties. In the same way that I'm a retired chief financial officer from Churchill County. Was there for 26 years. Actually, I was the first chairman of PACT. Okay, I served on the Committee on Local Government Finance, appointed by 4 different governors, the Technical Advisory Committee for the Department of Taxation and the Nevada Legislature. So Wayne Carlson, our executive director, developed a team of people who are expertise in their areas to be able to help folks. You know, and Neil, with his vast experience in HR related to schools, is important. We partner with Safe Schools Operations, Jeff Kay's company, that does hazardous vulnerability studies, okay, for our school districts. We have the student accident insurance, which I talked about. And we also have a program, an employee assistance program, again, where we went out and we bought a master contract, okay, for all our memberships at a reduced price, okay. So let's jump in. Absorb. It's a learning management system. We use Vector Solutions, Safe Schools, okay, as well as Absorb. What happened was Carson City says, hey, we have Safe Schools, we have Vector Solution, which is different than Absorb. We got a quote from them. They got a quote for $40,000. We were able to bring them in, buy a pool-wide 15 rural school districts, one contract, and their indirect cost was $12,000. We refunded Elko School District what was left on your contract because Vector refunded us all of that, and we bought it as pool. We bought that service for all our members, and that's included in the price of this. Mike Van Houten is our point of contact. He's our e-learning master. He can work and develop your own personal courses that you folks want to develop here in Elko, and schedule those classes throughout the year for your teachers, for your janitors, and all the different type of employees. So within our Safe School courses, the whole idea is make the students, the teachers and faculty safer, smarter, and better. Okay, there's learning and training opportunities, within risk management, workforce management, operational readiness, 12 critical topics that are provided through Safe Schools. Okay, and if you join in within the Vector Solution program, we have Nevada-specific courses that were developed by Nevada attorneys that uses Nevada revised statutes, specifically as it relates to schools, those training classes. So a lot of those training classes, and here's a good example, I'm just highlighting some of those: 22 minutes, 14 minutes, 21 minutes, okay? There's hundreds of videos, online learning, 24/7. You have the ability to do it, off hours. What we see at some school districts, what they'll do, so for example, up on the screen, I have Churchill County School Districts. That's a curriculum that their staff had to do. Carson City, they break theirs up in a spring loaded format. You can see Lyon County School District. They have different classes that maintenance janitorial take versus district staff versus board of trustees. They even have an assignment for the board of trustees. And what our e-learning master, Mike Van Houten, would do is work with your folks to help make sure classes are available, get the classes signed up that you want. And we could even do open enrollment. You could do open enrollment where the employees have access to the entire catalog. If they wanted to take all those classes, that they could. E-learning is so important to keep people, people knowledgeable, to reduce risk, to make it a safer place, a safer school environment for the employees. One of the things that we have found that has been most effective in school districts, and I can say this because my wife's a teacher, retired teacher, but at Churchill County, what they do is they assign all those classes and they do it on the first professional development day of the first year. She comes home and says, honey, I took all those damn pull-back classes that were required. I said, thanks, dear. I said, that's awesome. She goes, really? They weren't that bad. And I said, you know what would really be nice? So I'm a finance guy, right? I'm the finance guy. So they had 1 year, I convinced them that they had to do fraud prevention and awareness. And so all the teachers took that on professional development day, and she got them all done. And then she spent the rest of the afternoon and, good days before and after getting her classroom ready. But that was the hurdle that stood in the way for her getting to the classroom, getting ready for the students that were going to be coming to school. If they took those classes periodically throughout the year. So if we had fraud prevention awareness, sexual abuse and molestation training, and a third of the employees took it in August, a third took it in January, and a third took it in April, there would be a heightened level of awareness, right? At the district. So if a third of the people, if they see a bullying or something that that shouldn't be happening, it's the recency. Okay. And the teachers and staff, they talk amongst themselves in the lounge and stuff, and they may share a tip on something that they learned in that e-learning class. So we have found there's a certain couple of school districts that meter it out through 2 different or 3 different professional development days. And again, most of these classes take less than 25 minutes to do. Let's jump to cybersecurity. Number 1 risk right now going on for school districts. We've had 2 of our rural members have cyber attacks. Okay. We've performed a passive network assessment for Elko County, but it was done in 2019. It's time to get that updated. Okay, we have a software program called KnowBe4 that runs phishing security tests and training for our members. And, setting that up so that if you hit that clickbait, get that free Cabela's gift card for $50. And it was an inappropriate email. Guess what? You get sent to a 5-minute training class to tell you, what, these are the things you need to look at. Because what we don't want is a cyber event to happen within the school district. When a cyber event does happen, we have Tony Rucci, he's a cyber expert, okay? And he has quarterly meetings, and your folks participate in those. And when an event happens, especially the 2 that were school related, there was a debrief, and all our member school districts participated in that debrief to make sure that the same mistake didn't happen at our other member entities. Okay. Again, members helping members. Something you guys do awesome here at Elko County. We need to share that with Churchill County. We need to share that with Douglas County, Carson City. So that we all get better. Okay. Mr. Rucci does an annual cyber summit, quarterly webinars. We have one coming up on July 19th. Have an incident response team. You could even do a desktop exercise. We provide secure identification guards option for folks if there was a breach, of private, personal information for the employees. That's available. We have these microburst 20 training classes, take 2 minutes or less. So if you're on your phone doing Facebook scrolling, okay, within 2 minutes, you could do a cyber training class as it relates to clicking. True story. I hate to tell this because, again, my wife's a teacher, but so as a teacher in one of our member districts, got an email from the principal. Principal said you need to go down to Walmart and buy 3 $50 gift cards because they're doing a community event to help the underserved kids in the community at their school. First year teacher, of course, teacher pleaser, parent want to make the principal happy. Goes to Walmart when school's over, buys those gift cards, follows the instructions, and is a victim of a $150 scam. Didn't go ask the principal, hey, what's up? Was this legit? And you look at that and you go, wow, they got it. That person got taken. They wanted to file a claim, but their deductible was higher than $150. But I share that story not to embarrass the teacher, okay, but to say that this stuff does happen, okay, and some training to help us learn not to be tempted. If it's too good to be true, okay, maybe we shouldn't be clicking, those type of things. Within the pool program, we provide education and risk management grants, okay. One of the educational grants, every district has allowed several of those to go to training. A lot of people use that training grant to attend our Safe Schools, Safe School Operations held a school safety program. Okay, and instead of in Southern California, Jeff Cade's company hosted that in Reno, Nevada this past November. Okay, and at that conference, those people who put in for that educational allowance, we paid for their travel costs, we paid for their hotel, and the pool paid for the registration for all our members, folks. And we had superintendents go, we had the school resource officers go. It was an excellent conference. One of the things that happened there is that they had this device called OpenGate. Okay, and I'm not sure if anyone from Elko County, I'd have to go look, if anyone from Elko County School District attended that. They demonstrated OpenGate. Okay, OpenGate is a security system, a metal detection system that you walk through just like you do at airports. Okay, if you go to a Major League Baseball stadium, you go to an NFL stadium, they have those things that you walk through and it detects whether you have a gun. Okay, it will detect. Okay, what the bad news is, it also detects if you have a Chromebook. Okay, so what Pool Pack did is Douglas County, the superintendent, the resource officer saw that and said, you know what? We think that'd be cool to demo this in Douglas County. Okay, Douglas County loves guns as much as Elko County, as much as Churchill, but they said, you know what, we probably should do that. So they submitted that grant application to Pool Pact. We approved it. We paid 75% of that cost. They paid 25%. We worked with Jeff K to develop policies and procedures for that program. Okay, they modeled that program. We have it in place. Okay, and they used it. And the bad news is it also detects Chromebooks. So the solution they have is the high school kids walk through it with the Chromebook over their head. That's one method. The other method is that they have a table and they pass the Chromebook by, and that's how they get through the metal detection. Okay. But the kid doesn't get stopped because they have a money clip, they have keys, they have vape. If they have a 12-inch knife, it's going to go off. If they have a gun, it's going to go off. Douglas County School District piloted that project. Okay. Today, I received a phone call from the William N. Pennington Foundation. I wrote the grant for Humboldt County School District to get 7 of those systems. Worked with Dr. Jensen, the superintendent, worked with his staff, wrote that grant. They were approved for that. I got the call and the question was, when are you going to have your other members ready? And I said, hey, when are you meeting in July? I have staff that started today working on the template for Elko County School District. Whether or not you guys are interested in that program, I do not know. Humboldt County, we'll find out. We'll work with your superintendent to see if that's available. But there's a perfect example of taking a risk management grant that Douglas County used the education part to go to the seminar. They saw a product that made schools, that makes their schools safe. Okay. They came to us, they asked, hey, would you help fund it? Will you help us write those procedures? We said, absolutely. Our risk management, Jared worked with them. Okay. We worked with the preferred vendor. They got that program up and running. It was a little clunky, but we're gonna learn from that. Okay. We plan on this summer having a workshop that Douglas County is going to lead. Okay. Their SRO and their safety guy, how to implement that in other rural schools. What they found at the middle school is that they had one of those sandwich boards that identified, hey, we're going to do, metal detection. Okay. They can do that if a school's in lockdown and they want to do a wing and they want to empty a classroom and have kids go through there to see if, with their backpacks to see if anyone has a gun there. They can do that. The bus pulls up to the high school, the middle school, the elementary school, kids getting off the bus. These are portable. You can stick them in the back of your car. You don't even need an SUV. Okay. They're smaller than a golf bag. The travel golf bag, you set them up. Okay. It takes 15 minutes to set up. The school bus empties kids. They can walk through and detect. Why do we do this? We do this because we love our kids. We want safety of the kids. And talking to Richard at the Pennington Foundation today, as I was driving, good news is he got me before I lost cell service. They want kids in rural Nevada to be safe. They want kids to be safe. The one criteria that I do not know how your campuses are set up is they want single point of entry. So does your high school have single point of entry or is it multiple points? I know in my hometown in Fallon, Church County, the high school has multiple points of entry. So they may not be it, which is ironic. I'm going to work with the foundation, but that was the trustees' rule on the initial grant. And Humboldt did have single point of entries. Okay. But I use this as an example. I don't want to get into the weeds, but here's a program that started with an idea. A superintendent, went with it. And wow, we're going to get probably over $1.5 million to help our rural members to help save kids. Okay. And one of the goals that I have is I'm driving the rest of the way thinking, it would be so cool if every high school graduation next year, everyone went through metal detection to make sure that that was a safe graduation. Because across the United States, during this past graduation, there were over 10 incidences of shootings at high school graduations. Again, an example, you could apply for a grant and make a difference. And the difference that you make here in Elko can help Churchill, can help Mineral, White Pine County, those type of things. Speaking of helping, our human resource program, again, I mentioned, I gave a shout out to Neil, our business partner that works with the school districts. He's spent a career working HR for school districts. Okay, they provide on-site training. He also develops an annual work plan for the district as your business partner. What type of training? What do you guys want? What do you need here in Elko? And they tailor the programs to meet your needs. Okay, in addition to that, they have alerts and notices that are available. We provide HR briefings, okay, to deal with the ever-changing rules and regulations that relates to human resources, okay, whether it's school related or, not school related. Tremendous amount of training classes, whether on site, over Zoom, okay, or in the e-learning portal. And a lot of classes, they offer it both ways. We come out to Elko quite a bit because Elko, cover the eastern part of the state. We go Elko, Winnemucca, Carson, okay, and then we do Southern Nevada, so there are classes that are held live here in Elko County that other entities come to do training, okay. Safe schools, school safety operations, okay. We've invested over $750,000 in Safe School Operations Company over the last 15 years. Okay, Jeff Cade's company. Jeff was the school resource officer in Washoe County during the Spark shooting. And he ended up developing, this program to make kids safe, develop emergency operation procedures, updates. Okay, he has the hazardous vulnerability. He's done that for all 15 of our school district members. He provides updates, and within that updates, there's recommendations and improvements that need to be made. So prior to COVID, there was money from the legislature, capital money for school improvements. Okay, there were 2 levels of funding. Okay, the first one was $6 million, the next one was 10. Okay, pool-packed member school districts, rural school districts, our 15 schools were qualified. Washoe County, Clark County did not qualify for those state grants because they did not have a hazardous vulnerability assessment of all their facilities. So they had to have that in place before they could apply for that. So the good news is that our membership nearly got all $6 million. There was a charter school in Reno that got some of the money to help make improvements. So you turn around and you look at that, you go, wow, the pool spent, at that time it was like $550,000 for say school operations. We were able to leverage that to over $5.5 million of grants in the first year of that program. The second level of funding got cut because of COVID, but those recommendations are still in place. There is money coming out on federal grants for school safety and hardening that will be available. And if you have an updated plan, you're gonna, at the federal level and the state level, you're gonna be first in line. We have a resource here at the company that works with you folks to make your safety people, to make sure that happens, works with your development committee, provides the training, okay? So you have different committees. The school district has to have a emergency operations development committee focus on student safety. You know what, we have that. I know you guys have that going. We're here to help your folks. Again, we take school safety very, very serious and excited about that. What other opportunities do you have for services? You have MSDS online, so the employees, you have janitorial staff and stuff that are dealing with chemicals. They have online access, they spray some cleaning solution, they start feeling nauseous, whatever, they can go ahead and look that up and find out what that ingredient, what's there, what do they need to do? Do they need to, if they're having issues, relative to that. We provide that at no additional cost. We have a loss control excellence program, but we have a specific modules for schools. Okay. And if you guys complete that, there's a financial reward that goes with that. We ask you to reinvest that money into school safety. So that's a quick overview of our services. Now what I'd like to do is kind of look at some of the pool claim experience for Elko County School District. So let's go back to 2001. If we look from the period 2001 to 2021, nearly 20 years. We look at the claim count, that's the frequency, and then you have the total incurred, then you got severity. 2007, wow, $2.6 million of incurred claims. Earthquake, Wells, earthquake in Elko, okay? And that was the part that wasn't covered by FEMA, wasn't covered by the state of Nevada of the earthquake damage to the Elko County School District, okay? That represented 25% of the total damage. The other whoopsie was a sexual molestation case in 2018, that was included in that $2.6 million. And you can see the different amounts of claims that you have. So one of the things that Wayne Carlson, our executive director, likes to point out is, hey, if all our programs and services don't work, we have insurance to back you up, okay? So let's take a quick look real quickly through the different claims by coverages. All building risk, from a claims count, what's the frequency of the types of things. You had 34 items that were non-covered for a variety of potential reasons. You have general liability, 104 claims, errors in admission, 24, employment practices, there were 4 claims during this period of time. All risk buildings, 48 claims, 51 in auto claims, backing into somebody, just like we have, on our own self. Sometimes if you're involved in auto accidents or your buses, those are types of claims. We look at the general liability. So within general liability, what type of claims were those? You can see that, over this period of time, over $8 million were paid out in claims associated with that, with all building risk related to building. And again, the earthquake being this significant portion of that. And then under the errors and admissions, the SAM case was there. So, you had an injury from, an injured hand from operating a joiner in your wood shop, that $310,000 settlement on that particular claim. So that's why we have insurance. Bad stuff does happen. Stuff happens. They're called accidents, not on purposes. the earthquake claim, water damage. We have a lot of entities, and even though we send notices out in the wintertime, when you guys break for winter break, the principal might turn the temperature down and the buildings down to, whatever, trying to save on the heat bill. As a finance guy, maybe I appreciate that. But on the other side of it is we got to keep that temperature high enough so the pipes don't freeze. The number of gym floors we end up having to do because of burst pipes, kind of is expensive. So we see, freeze claims being, where we have an issue. Errors and omissions, not having huge claims, but when you have it, boom, big dollar loss, huge loss. Again, that's why we have it. So how can Pool Pact help? How can we help Elko County School District? We can help you through e-learning courses, our loss control excellence program. We can continue to work with your district safety committee, your emergency operations development committee, provide HR support, training, work on building inspections, winterization, enhanced in-person and e-learning related to, mandatory reporting, bullying, sexual abuse, molestation, those type of things. That's a quick overview. We thank you for your membership. You're invited to actively participate in Pool, our annual meetings in April. We appreciate that. Whoops. Let me go back real quick to that last slide, if we could. No, here's a go. So here's the team that can lend a hand. Wayne Carlson is our executive director, over 40 years in the insurance district. He used to be Washoe County's risk manager prior to establishment of Pool Pact. I'm the chief financial officer. We have Stephen Romero is our broker services, Marshall Smith, our chief risk officer, Jared Hickman, another risk officer to help mitigate risk, Mike Van Houten, our e-learning master, Stacy Norbeck is the general manager of the HR, Neil Freakus is your senior HR business partner, and your very own Dane, Dane, your broker here, he's a great resource, and he's a member of our team as well, or your team, to utilize services. With that, speaking of which, he carried the load over at the city of Elko, and I apologize I couldn't help, but I don't know if you have anything else you want to add now, or if we just want to go question and answer. Okay. Serve them up. Remember, I started with Jeopardy. If it's really hard, we'll give it to Dave.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, what was our total claim cost in the 20 years? I saw that listed out, but you didn't have a total.
You know what? On that one, it was over 8.8.
See that? Does that reflect the total of the previous slide?
You know what? I don't think it did. That's a great question, sir. I would have to.
I'm just curious how much we paid out versus how much we had to pay out.
Yeah, or how much you've put into the.
Yeah, how much we've paid in premiums versus how much it's cost us, and looking at the numbers, it looks like one's much larger than the other.
It looks like what?
One's larger than the other.
I'll be happy to provide that information to you.
All right.
Because you know what, one of the issues, and there was that slide that talked about 75%. 75% of what you pay in is invested in claims and loss reserves for claim payments.
Right.
Okay. So when you have that $10 million loss related to, the earthquake, to restore the school, you have that $2.5 million sexual abuse case that gets paid. Okay. Those are pretty big checks. Got to have money in the bank to pay for those. The other 25% is, operating costs, to run services and programs. And, we have winners and we have losers within the pool. And what I mean by that is that there are certain members that their loss ratio may exceed that 75%. And the balance of the pool subsidizes that. Okay. So, you had several great years. Okay. So you were subsidizing other entities that maybe didn't have a great year. But when you had that big claim, it was your turn in the barrel, if you will. And that's, why we have, the money and the assessments to help pay those.
The reason I asked that is just because I see our premiums are going up but I believe we paid more in premiums than we've had claims over 20 years.
You know what?
That's the point I'm getting
I
at
know
here.
that's the point you're trying to make. You know what I'd love to do is I will help run that analysis and find out, and we'll compare you to the benchmark and see where you're at. Because that's a very fair question. And what a lot of times people do is they want to look at the last 5 years. And in your case, you don't want to look at the last 5 years because you had a big.
Well, it's at
whoopsie.
20.
Yeah, exactly. So 20 is good. We'll get back and you know.
I can tell you a little, this isn't gonna be as detailed as what you'll do. But so every 4 years, the pool hires Asset Works to come through and do a updated proposal.
Appraisal of the properties.
Appraisal of the properties. So the school district, during supply shortage and all of that, not going on right now, the building values have skyrocketed over this last few years. You guys have like a $384 million schedule of value. So that's pretty huge. And then another, with some of these claims that you guys have had in a private insurance carrier, when you have one of these claims, you're just done. They non-renew you. Where the pool, as Alan was speaking to, that's your turn to have a bad year. Everybody else had a good year. It evens out, and everybody kind of helps everybody over time.
So along those lines, this year we changed our coverage from United Educators to Old Republic. And the reason why we had to do that is that the cost that United Educators, we go out to bid, we shop the market for the best price. United Educators, because of a significant claim that had hit one of the pool members, one school district members, they raised their premium significantly, and it begged us to go find somebody that would provide that same level of coverage at a cheaper price going out to bid. So we did. So we are now with Old Republic instead of United Educators because of a significant SAM case. So we talk about sexual abuse and molestation. What is really interesting is I was talking to our actuary. The sad fact, every 18 months in the state of Nevada, there is a SAM case. There's a SAM case. We got to do better. We got to have the training and the education. That teacher development day, Becky Brugge, Ann Alexander needs to be in front of your teachers, explaining to them their rights and their responsibilities and their obligations in front of all 15 school districts in the great state of Nevada. That's what's killing school districts right now. SAM cases and cyber cases, okay? Clickbait, okay? We've paid more out in school district cyber claims than we have for cities, counties, hospitals, and other districts. Why? Because you guys are the most tech advanced, because you have portals where parents can reach. You have portals, the teachers and everybody, they got through the HAVAC system in one of the school districts. Okay, they got through the phone system in another different school district. It's how they got into the network. Okay, we've got to do these facility assessments, pass the network assessments, trying to breach to see if we can get into the school district's sites. Okay, Elko's due for an update. Okay, to make sure that your information technology is bulletproof. Okay, one of the benefits is slow down a little bit, because I think the Russians and Ukrainians are not spending as much time in cyber war. They're doing a different war. Anecdotally, there was actually an article in one of the business insurance articles that talked about how cybercrime is actually down out of those regions. I digress, but yeah, we got it. What can we do to mitigate claims? What can we do to mitigate a school shooting and the liability associated when the parents sue? When they knew or should have known that there was a breach, an area, weakness of the school district, working with law enforcement, working with your development committee to make our kids safe. Those are the three big areas. you know what? Your superintendent said, you guys are going to challenge. You're going to get challenged tonight. I said, oh, this is good. I said, so as I was driving, actually, I got that email as I was working out this morning, doing my cardio. And I wrote 5 things that I challenged the school district. And I challenged Churchill County School District, where I live in Fallon, okay, to this as well. Number 1, school safety. Update your HVAs. Implement open gates, especially if someone else is going to pay for it for you. Number 2, cybersecurity. Do passive network assessments. Even if you're the best IT department in the state of Nevada, go through that test. Do a tabletop exercise. Make sure that you're not vulnerable. That's number 2. Number 3, take advantage of e-learning. Set up those training courses for your employees. Recognize your employees for excellence for doing that. Number 4, loss control excellence program. We have a program that you can go through your entire risk management of a school district. There's a financial incentive if you do that, okay? And it's an example of making the best better. I challenge you to do that. And number 5 is throw out a softball, okay? Here's one. Obtain the certified public officials designation as school board trustees. We'll give you a $1,000 bonus. Through the University of Nevada Extended Studies, there's a program that all the trustees can go through, and the School Board Association has training that qualifies for classes that you can get that designation, okay? Once you get that, that makes you a better trustee, makes you a better board member, and Pool Pack feels that it's beneficial to have that. So those would be the 5 challenges that I would give, any school board, any member, okay? And again, from a member value and performance evaluation, hold Dane accountable, hold me accountable, hold our IT people, hold our HR guy, okay? Take advantage of those resources, because part of what you're paying, okay, 9% of what you're paying goes to support those services. Use them, because an ounce of prevention, pound of cure. Okay, I better get off the soapbox before I fall and before the chairman or the president says, shut up.
Other questions from the board? How would you like to proceed?
Madam Chair, actually, if I may, for just a moment, before we get to that point, within the documentation that we had, there are a number of attachments. One of them is the 2002 annual meeting board packet, and it has, oh no, that's a silly thing. That's the entire packet. This is a pool school districts document, is I believe what it's called, and it lists the 15 school districts. Jeff, to your point, is this the 5-year average? You were looking for a 20-year average.
Well, I
correct?
just, the chart up there showed 20 years. I just
Right.
didn't have a total at the bottom. I just quickly in my head.
So I just wanted to make sure I was
Yeah,
reading this right. That looks about right. Is that green and blue? Yep. Or at least to me, it's green and blue. So under Elko County, 5-year average cost, $731,603.
Correct. So that is the 5-year average claims cost. So that's taking that SAMI claim and it blew it up. If you look year by year, it goes off of the bar graph or the line graph, same thing. Good year, bad year, medium. So
Okay.
it gets skewed by the one, but if you look through here, most of these districts, I mean, you could look at this top one with Carson at the first column, bad one, good, medium, good. It's kind of an actuarial, it happens. I mean, and during COVID, your property claims, I feel like you guys got those cleaned up with the frozen pipes and I think one of them, a mop handle got tipped over and shut something off. All those things have ceased to be occurring. So that's a good thing. The liability side right now is my biggest concern. I'm not saying get complacent on the property. You guys have a lot of schools. There's a lot of people, unique individuals running those schools. So don't get complacent, but knock on wood, that has been rectified more or less.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I was reading that right. Then total costs were 3.6 million. There's a second document that's Elko County School District 2002 loss ratio. And that one's a much smaller document, has 6 lines across it.
So this is one I created as well, just to show what your current loss ratios are by year. And this shows again, your premiums paid for these periods. And then, 2%, 1%, 9%, but then the 266% of 809,000. That's the bad year once again. And you could look down overall, the 3-year is 4.2, 5-year is 62.8.
And if I was understanding correctly, Mr. Colt, you had said 75% was kind of the benchmark.
Yes, sir.
So under the 5 years, we're still not quite meeting that. But obviously, if we took isolated years, we
You can
exceeded
paint
it
the
pretty
picture
significantly.
to look rosy. As long as those years don't fall off and we replace it with a bad one. You never know what's coming down the bike, something could fall off, but nobody has the crystal ball.
One of the things, the pool-wide average increase was 12%. Elko County School District program cost was 5%. So everyone on pool-wide average was getting a 12% increase. Your increase here at Elko County was 5%. In light of the fact that your total exposures and your total insured values went up 4%. So if you were to add 4% increased exposures to the 12%, okay, then, a 16% increase could have been within the realm of possibility, but because of the favorable claim development as one factor, is why your increase, count, your average daily attendance is an allocation amount, your total insured values of payroll, those type of things. All of those are figured out by the independent actuary who sets the rates and the amounts. So yeah, your increase is 5. Okay. The city of Elko was
16.
So this these 2 documents gets me at least a 5-year total, if I'm seeing this correctly, that we paid out to 4.7 million in premiums over the last 5 years.
That looks to be correct.
And then going back to the other one, we were by far the highest at 3.6 in claims. So maybe this is beyond what we're talking about here, but I think we should be getting a better deal.
so.
Because, school district wise, you
understand,
see
sir.
exactly what I'm saying, right?
I do. And I want to give 2 examples. 2 examples. One is property insurance. Okay. So I pay my property insurance every month as part of my mortgage in my escrow. Okay. For my house, and I use farmers insurance, not to give a plug, but I just did. Okay. I've lived in that house. We built it 15 years ago. And I praise the Lord that I've never had a claim against the house. Okay, so my loss experience is 0. But if my house were to burn down, I have replacement cost. And they would rebuild it and they would provide me temporary housing for my family. That's insurance. That's one example. The other example that I talk about is life insurance. Which is funny because when I talk about this, my father-in-law used to laugh and he says, you're probably worth more to your wife dead than you are alive. And I says, thanks. The good news is that I've never collected on my life, or my wife has never collected yet on the life insurance policy. So that loss ratio is 0. But at some point, if I were to buy, I buy term insurance on my health. But, had I put all that money that I've paid farmers, had I put that aside, maybe I could be, quote, self-insured, maybe, or if there is a big loss, okay? And I had a big increase in my homeowner's insurance because of the California fires. It has absolutely nothing to do with Fallon America, right? It has absolutely nothing to do with Elko. Okay, when we negotiate property rates with Lloyd's of London, we talked about fire and we showed where the fire maps were, okay, to protect our fire rates and keep them as low as possible. But some of the insurance, okay, we don't use, but it's there in the event that we need it, so we can sleep at night. You know, if there was another earthquake, okay, and you had to write that big check to repair the schools.
Understood. It just, I'm not saying we shouldn't have insurance. I'm just saying from a layman looking at this, it seems like we should be getting a better deal.
So how can you speak to how the pool reserves and all that work versus a private carrier?
Yeah, and maybe that's something I need to talk to, you know, have we shot this? Is this something, I saw the answer to the question there, and this is probably the best deal, but is it? Is it doing what we need?
Julie, do you have that answer by chance? Not to put you on the spot. And don't sit down quite yet when you're done, if you don't mind, please.
And guys, forgive me. We've lost $4 million off our budget. We're really under a crunch under everything. We have to look at everything with a microscope right now. So,
Okay, so I think I understand your question. I don't think we'll get a better deal trying to shop around on our own because the state does that and gets like a bulk deal. And they shop around and like they're switching carriers. Kind of what you're talking about, claims in versus premiums out is like our self-insured health plan.
yeah.
Which, you know,
Well,
hasn't
yeah,
been very
we do
funded
that.
right now. So we could,
It-
some districts, I guess, are self-insured. And I guess that we could look at that option, but then, you know, we would have been good 20 years ago. Would we be good in 3 years?
Right.
You just don't know. So
I guess part of that leads to, is this an all or nothing too? I mean, I know the way that the proposal is, but
that's, one thing that changes our premiums is the deductible. So we could look at raising the deductible.
yeah,
So that's something we could look at.
And Julie, before the gentleman take back over, I apologize for not being as prepared as I typically am. So I didn't send this to you in advance. Do you recall or do you have access to what we budgeted?
Yes, I worked with Dane to get an estimate. I had this quote. We sat down and looked at deductible rates, and for the little bit that we'd save, you know, we could have lost that in just one claim. So that's part of insurance. But yes.
And so does this
we-
fall in what we approved through the budget on the,
You approve this amount. I get the number from Dane when the June budget's done.
okay, thank you.
Did I answer the question? Kind of. Okay.
Yeah, if I could make a quick observation.
Yeah.
Douglas County Douglas County School District went out to bid. And they chose us to continue with us. Carson City has recently went out to bid in the last 2 years. They chose to stay with the pool. The last 2 years, Washoe County School District has looked at coming into the program and wants to come into the program. And the question is, do we want that large of an entity to be a member of the pool? You know, and do we want Clark County coming into the fold? We must be doing something right, price-wise, service-wise, if Washoe County wants to come in. And when we went out to bid, we've been the successful provider. You know, if you want to go out to bid, we would encourage you to do so. You know, we're owned by you.
yeah.
We want the best deal for you folks. Okay. And we provide insurance and we provide all these other services. You know, we welcome the opportunity to prove value to the organization. And there may be ways, you know, as your finance director indicated, raising deductibles might be a way to lower the total cost. And there might be other things that you could look at as well that we can work with staff in the future.
I'll finish with what I had just by saying that if this is something that district personnel recommends, I'm okay with that. I have these questions and looking at them and want some clarity, and that's probably some stuff I'll look into further, but maybe at another time. So I appreciate you guys as being forthcoming with the information that you have given us. So,
And I work with the pool and also in the private world. I can pretty much tell you that the pool is the best place from a premium
Yeah.
and entire program standpoint. I mean, so if you went out to a private carrier, you're going to maybe have liability and property, but then earthquake with earthquake claims on your loss runs, that's going to be tough. Getting cyber now as a one entity standalone is going to be tough. The pool, due to the purchasing power and scale, is able to get it all together at a very competitive price. And I would make probably double commission with a private carrier. So, but the pool, I mean, total transparency, that is the place to be for an entity this size. I 100% believe that.
And that's what I've heard recommended too. I just have these questions and it's something to look at towards next
Due
year.
diligence.
Forgive
sure.
me, I'm the guy outside with the 240,000 miles on the car that's paid for, and that, that's how I work my budget. So.
We appreciate that.
Madam Chair, I think I've got one more comment and then I think I may be ready. We've had you guys up here for about 45 minutes or so now. We appreciate that. And thank you for the in-depth information that you've given us. I have worked hard to make sure that, well, prior to the Affordable Care Act, for me, medical insurance was always voluntary. So I worked exceptionally hard to make sure I could always afford that, or that I had a job that provided that. And the second thing that I always worked hard at is because I have zero mechanical aptitude, I work hard enough to be able to take my car to a mechanic. Those are two things that I work on my budget, and insurance is at the top of that. So having worked at worked with other agencies that have both the pool and the packed side of things, I trust you guys. I appreciate what you've done to the other agencies that I've worked with, and I trust our staff. If our staff thinks that this is the best option, if this is what we've budgeted with, I agree with Jeff. I'd like to see that we didn't have to pay as much, but the whole purpose of insurance is to make sure that we're covered when the unforeseen, or as you so eloquently said, the accidents, not the, whatever the phrase was you turned.
On purposes.
The on purposes. Yeah, the accidents happen instead of the on purposes. That's why we don't call them that. So I agree that that's important for us. So therefore, Madam Chair, I move that we accept the renewal proposal from the Nevada Pool Agency Insurance Pool, capital POOL, and approval of payment for the FY 2022-2023 from the general fund.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion?
Can I just ask a question about the student accident policy? Because I appreciate everyone else's questions and all the information you gave. Is the student accident policy, I know it says included, so does a parent pay separately for that and then they have a deductible? Will you just touch on?
Sure, the way that works, every student within the pool membership is covered at no additional cost to the parent.
Okay.
So the child in the playground in that scenario that I talked about, they would be responsible for the $250 deductible. They would have to pay that. Okay. They would get the medical care. They're going to have to fill out paperwork, an insurance claim. That's what Dane's here to help the family with. Okay. And they would get coverage up to $25,000.
Okay.
And if they had other insurance, so let's say that accident was a $50,000 surgery. Okay. The parents' coverage would be secondary on that. So that basically they would pay up to $25,000 under the student accident, and their personal policy would pay the difference. And the parent would have the $250 deductible under student accident. And whatever their health plan provided, they would have that. But a lot of times what happens is on a major claim like that, they coordinate the insurance, work together to help minimize the impact to the family. Is that a fair assessment? You do?
That is, and also if the student's family did not have health insurance, the student accident would become primary, and then Gerber would help negotiate with the medical facilities. Say, hey, this $500 latex gloves, that's out of line. They would be an advocate for them to try to make, do everything they can to have that 25,000 cover the claim.
Okay, wasn't sure how that works, so thank you.
Well, I will just say I've been watching these presentations for quite a few years now. And I appreciate not only the coverage, but the training that the pool offers. And I will say, I think one thing perhaps we could improve on is utilizing some of those services that we pay for and we don't completely fully use. Because I've also sat through some cybersecurity training and also risk assessment and a lot of those things. And you guys offer so many different things. You're talking about we need to do a new risk assessment of our facilities, and we need to make sure we take advantage of those things because we're paying for them. And you provide great training and great opportunities for our district. So I guess my recommendation is, I'm looking forward to voting on this and approving this. That's my opinion. But I want to make sure as a district, we're utilizing all of those services to the betterment of our district.
You bring up a great point. Our Chief Risk Officer, Marshall Smith, always reminds me and reminds members that we are a nonprofit insurance program. Okay. A for-profit Farmers pays a dividend to their shareholders, Allstate, Geico, Progressive, et cetera, et cetera. The dividend that you guys get are what we call service dividends, these programs that you just outlined, that yes, the cost is embedded in the program, but these are service dividends that make you the best school district of Elko County even better. So, again, nonprofit, we're not here, we're not paying dividends, to anyone except back to the members as services.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board before we move to a vote?
Does then the entire district have their own username and password, and that's how they get in to the website to take those trainings?
So on the e-learning, we set that up through our e-learning master, and Dane will make sure that you guys have that. The district is using Safe Schools. So district personnel have access to that. They can make sure that the board has access and everyone has access. To go to the Pool Pact website, there is services beyond the general one. You send an email to our admin support. They will set you up with a temporary password. Then you have access to that program. Our cyber program, we hook that up based on your web address, your email address at the district. And then we could do an enrollment and get everybody involved in those programs. So
I have to say, I went, it's been a while back, but I'm like, oh, I'm going to go get myself a username and password. And I did, but then it wasn't working. And I contacted whoever.
So your temporary password was
well,
change me?
They got right back to me immediately. No, I don't even know. I set up my own. Something didn't work and they got back to me immediately and fixed it all so I could get in. So your support was very helpful. Thank you for the explanation.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. There's a motion to approve or to accept this renewal proposal. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Okay, chair votes aye and that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
guys very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the only one I had.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 2.2, receipt, review, and possible approval of resolutions to augment the budget of the general fund and special revenue funds for the 21-22 school district budget. Julie, thank you for joining us for many of these next items.
No problem.
See that cybersecurity.
I would
is
say that's
locked.
proof it's working good. That's proof it's working good right there.
Okay, so this is a yearly thing. Most governments do it So we did our original budget last June. And then we augmented in December for ending fund balances. When we did that original budget in June, we had no idea what the pupil-centered funding plan was gonna look like. So this lets us adjust a closer match. So for example, the categorical grants that were funded through the state grant fund are now funded through the general fund. So they've still been paid under the state grants fund while we figure out what we want to do. Since we didn't know what it was going to look like, we didn't have a transfer out to the state grants fund. So that's the biggest change in the general fund. So in this augment, the ending fund balance can't change. So you can add budget to your expenditures if you had an unbudgeted increase in your revenues. We knew what revenues were going to be in the general fund because we had the pupil-centered funding plan. We in December, we had made all the adjustments to remove property tax and add to the pupil-centered funding plan and everything. So those didn't change. So in areas where we were under budget, we moved that into, well, the categoricals are now funded through the general fund. So the revenue was in the general fund, the expenses are in the state grant fund. So this adjustment is mostly reflecting that. Oh, the buses. So we found out after we did the 23 budget that the buses won't be delivered by June 30, even though for months they said it would be. Everything is taking a while. So we moved the budget for the buses to cover some of the state grants fund.
Julie, can you repeat what you just said? Moved
The
what?
buses, yeah, so we had budgeted in 22 to buy 10 buses out of the general fund. They won't be here by June 30, so it can't come out of the 22 budget. So if we're over budget by $1, it's an audit finding that we have to explain to the state. So since we knew that wasn't going to get used, we reallocated that for this year. And everything else will roll forward and we'll pay for the buses in the 23 budget, which aren't in the 23 budget now because we thought it would be in the 22. So in December, we'll adjust that and get the buses budgeted for in 23.
But between the 2 years, it's a wash, right?
Yeah.
So Julie, there's only a $42,000 transfer on this page. This is the page with the buses. We're not getting
No, the
10 buses
buses
for
are in the general
42,000.
fund.
Okay.
So, so transportation, oh, that's athletics. So I took out almost $1 million out of the transportation and reallocated it to fund the transfer.
Okay, I just wanted, when you were referencing that, it
Yeah, I was on the
indicated that.
wrong
Okay,
page.
good. I just wanted to make sure I was
No,
I was
that's
not missing
general
something.
fund.
Great, thank you.
So as you can see, it washes and you can't change ending fund balance in June transfers. So that all stays the same. Nevada education. Oh, that's no longer funded. I had budgeted for $42,000 in revenue, but that's actually zero. So we adjusted for that. In 23, we budgeted to have that fund zeroed out. English learner, that's a new fund. So let's see. That's just reallocating. We guessed in June and December where they would need the expenses. This reallocates it more to where they actually needed it, with no change in ending fund balance. Let's see. I'm gonna jump to the ones that actually. Okay, special ed. Okay, special ed, we added a transfer in of 400,000. It looked like expenses were, and that's normal, we've been putting a transfer in there. We might not need the whole thing, but since $1 over expenditure is a violation of NRS, we put that cushion in there. And it washes in the expenses, so the ending fund balance doesn't change. That's just to net it to 0. Okay. Federal funds had a big change. This one wasn't super necessary, but it'll adjust the ending to actual. There was no miscellaneous revenue. So we added that to transfers in. So that funds the general fund portion of the incentive grant matches. Right, yeah. So that's the match. If a school can fundraise a certain amount, there's the match to incentivize it.
And that's the match that went up this year, correct?
We
That
want
number.
to, yes, up it in 23. Yep. Okay. To 10,000. Yeah. Federal funds. So this is one where we did have revenue higher than budgeted. So we were able to add that and then allocate it down in the expenses. Food service, that fund, so the funding for that changed under people-centered funding plan as well. So since we didn't know what that was going to look like, and it had always been negative in the past, we budgeted a big transfer in. But between grants and the new funding formula, that fund is funded. So I decreased and reallocated that transfer into the grants.
So Julie, how did that change in the new funding formula with the food service?
Yeah, so they looked at prior years, the pattern of how much we'd always put into that fund from the general fund. So instead of us just covering that from the general fund, they put it aside and say, here's this, put it directly into the food service fund. And then we had grants this year to help with supply chain issues and stuff. So that helped our bottom line as well.
Okay, thank you.
Capital improvement, that was just reallocating expenses to where they were actually needed. We added the services line. And then I didn't really change the internal service ones, but they were always included. So we had published that there'd be an augment. So that way it's theirs for people to see. That's it for that one. Pretty standard yearly routine augments.
Any questions for Julie on that one?
Julie, the ending fund balance, is that considered an expense? What I mean by that is if that ending fund balance goes up because we didn't spend as much, we don't have to augment that. That's not an audit finding, correct?
Ending fund balance, being over that is not a violation. Being under budgeted would be like, well, you don't get a finding for being under budget on revenues, but you get a finding for being over budget on expenses. So you could be under budget and ending fund balance without a violation.
Okay. But with these augments, if we're transferring back
So-
and forth and we're still off on augments to the good, and that increases, like you had mentioned, we're the buses,
Yeah.
we're transferring those back and forth. So we're theoretically our ending fund balance should go up,
Yeah.
and that's not
That's-
going to cause an issue.
No.
Okay.
No, it shows as an expense here, just so you can tie the totals.
Okay.
But that's not a violation.
I appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
Right, any other questions on this one, or would we like to move on to a motion?
I'll go ahead and move that we approve the resolutions to augment the budget of the general fund and special revenue funds for the 2021 and 22 school district budget.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that motion carries. Item 2.3 is receipt, review, and possible approval of resolution to reserve portion of the general fund ending fund balance pursuant to NRS 391A.455. All right, Julie.
Okay, so that's another yearly standard resolution we do every year. So when we get the financial statements, at the end of the year, we break out and allocate fund balance. So part of it'll go to the next year's budget. Part of it will go to like unspendable will be in capital. And then you approved a resolution before where we could assign, so that fund balance didn't get spent on buses. So we could assign that fund balance to show users and of the statements and the state that yes, it rolled forward, but it's designated, it's for this purpose. And then we've always put 250,000 in this reserve for enhanced compensation. It's an NRS that requires some amount to be reserved. So we've just always done 250,000 a year.
Right, any questions on this one?
Do we ever do anything with it?
I think there's some compensation packages, but I'm not really in that program. I'm not sure if who's handling that right now, but it's there if you want to.
And you're reading through go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's not a requirement that a certain amount be spent a year. It's a requirement that it be set aside. So if something comes up.
Okay. And in reading through NRS 391A.455, it indicated, well, and it's actually in the resolution here at the bottom of the first paragraph, not less than 5% of the teachers employed or the monetary benefits for not less than 5 and not more than 10.
So that's confusing. That's not between 5 and 10% of our total wages. It's for people who deserve, it's performance pay and enhanced compensation for whoever's selected.
Up to 5% or between 5% and 10% of our
Yeah, you
total.
can't give them a 50% raise
Great.
or bonus.
Okay. And reading through the NRS, it was indicating non-monetary benefits and some other things. And
Yeah.
I guess we give them a roof over their head. That's a non-monetary benefit. Congrats. You work not in the sun. I don't know. Sorry.
I guess it'd be if we wanted to offer something other than cash.
Chicken eggs.
I don't know.
Maybe can we start
Pizza.
offering pizza? We're short $10 million, folks. We're going to start paying you in pizza. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. That is all I had, Madam Chair. I'm happy to make a motion to approve the resolution to reserve a portion of the general fund ending fund balance pursuant to NRS 391A.455.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that motion carries. Item 2.4 is receipt review and possible approval of a resolution authorizing an interfund loan to the Audit Education Fund from the General Fund.
So these are yearly resolutions as well. They all hit in June. So we still have another pupil-centered funding plan payment to be received in July, which is 22 revenue. Federal and state grants, we could be, if it's a reimbursement grant, the money's already been spent, and then we could receive the money in July or August, which means the general fund advanced the cash to cover that expense. But we can't show negative cash in the financial statements. So this is giving us approval to loan the money to zero out cash as of June 30 for revenues that will be received in July and August.
Right, any questions on this one?
I have one for you, Madam Chair, and perhaps for anybody else that might be able to answer this. Can we handle this in one motion? Can I make a motion to approve resolution authorizing an interfund loan to state grants, to federal funds, to PCFP gifted and talented? Can I do that all in one swoop? Because we're all going to be signing these resolutions, right?
I say, I'm gonna
I
leave
would
that up to
guess
Julie if
yes.
we need a separate motion for each one for approval, or if we can go through and discuss and then approve all at once. I'm gonna leave that to you, Julie. Do we need it separate?
As long as I have the signatures, I'm fine.
So we're already halfway there.
right.
Yeah.
In the past, they would.
You're reading my mind.
Agenda item.
Okay. Right. And
Great.
unless the board is
I guess if the motion
anyone's
fails,
concerned.
right? Exactly. I'm happy to put this officially, formally into the record then. Madam Chair, I move to approve a resolution authorizing an interfund loan to the Adult Education Fund, to the State Grants Fund, to the federal funds, and to the PCFP Gifted and Talented Fund from the General Fund as outlined in agenda items 2.04, 2.05, 2.06, and 2.07.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We now have a few more things to discuss. Are there any questions on any of those agenda items? Those specific fund transfers, loans, et cetera?
Okay, thank you.
All right, there are no questions. We will move forward with a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, chair votes aye, and those are approved. Julie, thank you for your work on that and for all of the agenda items that we just got to cover all at once and you got to be done. So thank you. All right, we will move on to item 2.8, receipt review and possible approval of proposed new policy DDA, Delta, 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 Alpha grant submission. All right, Cassie.
So this is a new policy. It's always kind of been just known that all grants requests come through our office. And the main reason is just reporting purposes. On our annual audit and on the CFA, we need to report all of our private, state, federal grants. And then, so that's why I'd like them to come through. There's been multiple incidents where we receive a check for a grant that a school applied for. We had no idea. Or else schools going out and not necessarily putting the correct information on grant applications. If they're not following the grant guidelines, it ends up falling on us. So it's just one way to keep track of all the funding that's going in and out of the district and making sure that everything's consistent.
All right, any questions for Cassie? All right, how would you like to proceed?
I'm ready to go home. So, Madam Chair, I will move to approve the proposed new policy DDDA grant submission.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions?
Just one quick comment, having worked at an organization previously where a prior grant was submitted improperly and it resulted in me being unable to submit my grant. I wholeheartedly agree with the consistency in this, and I appreciate that while it was always kind of known, now it's actually codified. So thank you.
Glad to
Thank
see it
you.
official.
Okay, thank you. Did we take a vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and that motion carries. All right, looks like item 2.9 and 2.10 are similar. So Stephen, do you want us, do you need those to be in separate motions as well, since they are different?
I'd like to keep them separate. I have.
Okay, then let's keep them separate. Let's start with 2.9, receipt, review, and possible acceptance of the bid for the Liberty Peak Elementary School Natural Gas Conversion Project submitted by Charles H. Chester Plumbing and Heating, Inc., and conditional award of contract to that bidder. All right.
So if I recall correctly, we did lump the project together as one budgetary item when we were going out to bid of 275,000, correct?
That is actually for different schools. So this one right here is just for Liberty Peak.
Okay.
The next one will be for a different school.
So the 275 that we had done previously,
Yes.
did we do a similar proposal prior to us joining the board, or am I just forgetting that we approved it twice?
We approved.
The specific amount as I had asked, so.
I just couldn't recall if that was.
I'm
Because
trying
I
to
remember
remember, and I just remember
275.
the moving the pipeline or the connections.
So the connections that you're looking at would have been for Spring Creek High
Right,
School,
right.
Sage, and
This is different. Got it. Yeah.
so this is a different
Schools.
school site, different bid.
Okay.
Same type of project though.
Yeah.
So when I look back at our March 22 item, it was to go out to bid, and the estimated cost was 275 for the Spring Creek Elementary and Liberty Peak.
Okay, thank you.
natural gas
That's what I
conversion
was referring
projects.
back
Yes,
to.
that was the projected cost of those two things.
Great. And so we've fallen below the projected cost by about 100 grand.
Well, no,
If
this
I'm
is just the
looking at that
one,
right.
and that was for two. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, so the 275 was total for the two schools together. And so. And the
Under the
total of
average
these
for
two
two.
bids is 185. Yeah, but when you add the two together, yeah, you're right. It still goes below what we originally projected.
Perfect.
That's correct,
Yes.
Stephen.
Yes, the numbers are just.
Assuming
lower
Spring
than
Creek comes in under
275.
175. 176.
Well, Spring Creek Elementary is on here though at 72.
Mhm.
That's item 2.10.
Yeah, so let's cover item 2.9. Any questions on 2.9 that covers
My
Liberty Peak?
apologies. I
That's all
was
right.
on a different item then. I didn't.
Yeah, this one is
We could
the
have combined it.
item that is Liberty Peak. Let's go ahead and cover this one. Any questions for Stephen on this one?
Madam Chair, I move that the board accept the best bid for the Liberty Peak Elementary School Natural Gas Conversion Project submitted by Charles H. Chester Plumbing and Heating, Inc., and conditionally award the contract to that bidder, subject to the timely submission to the district legal counsel of all documents required by the instructions to bidders, including 1, the signed contract, 2, proof of required insurance, 3, issued performance board bond, and 4, issued payment bond.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and that motion carries. Now we'll move to item 2.10, which is, I'll read it, receipt, review, and possible acceptance of the bid for the Spring Creek Elementary School Natural Gas Conversion Project submitted by Charles H. Chester Plumbing and Heating, Inc., and conditional award of the contract to that bidder.
Madam Chair, I do have a question on this one,
Okay.
if I may. Sorry,
Yep.
Ira, did I interrupt you? All righty. Stephen, the first one was only about $2,000 difference. So it's a 2% roughly from the high. This one has about a $15,000 difference, which is about a 20% difference. Any idea why they were so close on Liberty Peak and so far away on Spring Creek? I'm
10% difference. I guess from a standpoint, when we project these costs, Charles Chester, why we think they were the best responsible bidder is they were very close to an engineering estimate too. So that was one of the reasons too on this project. There's 2 boilers at that school that need programming from an outside source. And Charles Chester Plumbing and Heating feels like they can endure that cost at a certain amount. And there was a phone call made and he feels like he is still the best responsible bidder.
Okay, thank you.
I move that the board accept the best bid for Spring Creek Elementary School natural gas conversion project submitted by Charles H. Chester Plumbing and Heating Incorporated, and conditionally award the contract to that bidder subject to timely submissions to the district legal counsel of all documents required by the instructions to bidders, including signed contract, proof of required insurance, issued performance bond, and issued payment bond.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 2.11, receipt, review, and possible acceptance of the bid for the FY23 asphalt maintenance, crack, seal coating, and striping of parking lots, roadways, and playgrounds at the following sites: Spring Creek High School, Spring Creek Middle School, and Annex Project, submitted by Superior Services, Inc., and conditional award of contract to that bidder. All right, any questions from the board on this one?
I just want to refresh my memory. Do we have an approximate for this when we put this out to bid?
Yeah, we do have an approximate just from previous years. Whether we extrapolate that data from RS means or an engineer like we did on the gas projects. This one right here, we kind of know because it is an annual maintenance that we do every year. So we have a general idea plus whatever inflation costs there are, or if we put in the bid docs that we want a certain material used, we can enter that in.
I just meant like at the previous board meeting, did we talk a number amount?
Yes, we did.
You remember what
Yes.
that? Yeah.
So it was 300,000 is what
Okay.
we budget for. And as a board, you guys asked if we could lower that number.
Yeah.
And the best option for right now is instead of doing a 3-year rotation, we went to a 4-year rotation on school sites. And that's how we came up with a lower number of
Cool.
271.
And please remind me, where is the annex?
It is right next to the Sage School. It's a parking lot next to it.
Okay.
Yep, roadway. There's actually, I can send you guys a PDF or a form of where all the sites are.
I'm pretty sure I know where you're referring to. Okay, thank you.
My question for you is, what exactly are we getting for $271,000?
So we get striping and sealing.
As far as, are we talking just the snake seal, or are they coating the entire
They
parking
will
lot?
coat the entire parking lot
All right, so in the last.
and crack filling.
Right. In the last, so I went up before the meeting today and drove around the parking lot. Yeah, the entrance is pretty hammered.
Yeah,
But the rest of it is, I think if we just seal cracks there, and that's part of when we talked about the bid, is possibly getting like an ABC type, what can we do? Can we do less?
right.
And in looking at it, I believe the majority of that lot can be just slurry sealed. And we wouldn't need to stripe. We repair that, or I guess I should be careful with the terminology I use there, but we treat the entrance and could save us some money. I still think we're just that's a lot of money for one parking lot.
It is a lot of money. It's a lot of square footage.
Yeah.
All of the bids are very close. The material is just what it is. If we were to go to with a lesser material and we didn't spec out what we actually want, we could get lesser costs, but we wouldn't get the quality and it wouldn't be able to last that 3 to 4 years. So
I've done some looking into it, including visiting the site, and I just would put my opinion to the rest of the board that we should look at less on this. This is something, it's capital improvements money. The voters told us that they don't want to do capital improvements right now. And so I believe that on this, we should do the bare minimum. And I don't think that $271,000 is that. I know that it requires some cost, but the high traffic areas certainly are in need of area, but you get in those remote reaches and it's not, there's no cracks. there's
The
no-
reason why we
Yeah.
wouldn't want to skip out on those areas is from a maintenance standpoint. If we extend certain areas out to a 3 or a 4 year, we try to do them all in groups. And if we skip on certain areas that look good to us, then we'll endure costs later on, like we have in those areas that you had seen that have high wear and things like
Right.
that.
Your high traffic where you pull in, certainly that needs done,
Yeah.
but the entire, I just don't see it.
So if I'm understanding correctly, Stephen, if we do go with the treatment that, just the minimal treatment, I don't want to say minimal treatment, but the lower treatment, so the A, B, or C option, if we go with the C option, it's another 3 to 4 years before we go back and approach that parking lot. Am I understanding that correctly?
So right now, I guess, I don't know what the C option is, but
If we were to do
We
just
only,
what,
we asked for an ABC option. We only got an A option.
so you're saying, Jeff, if I'm understanding correctly, go and treat the areas that are bad, but don't do the whole thing.
Right. You can go in, if there's cracks, you can coat, there's a truck, they go
Sure.
in and put a strip. You've seen the road snakes.
Yep.
It'll have road snakes all over it, but then you won't need to restripe.
And so if we did that option,
Yeah.
it'd be
and
another
then-
3 to 4 years before we went back to mitigate any other issues with that parking lot. Am I understanding that correctly?
yes, it would be very hard. I could come up with a better formula on the ABC or the C format that you're talking about, but for right now, recommendations from asphalt companies, and like I said, RS means it's an international company that does projects like this, and we get data from them. And these are all like 3 to 4 year life cycles. We're stretching it out by going the 4 years. We've always done 3 in the past, and we're already seeing those high wear areas. But in the future, we are enduring cost cutbacks. So maybe those are some things that we can, as a district, we can do ourselves too. So
That's something I would wanted to look into
the
too.
B
because-
option that you had talked about, I would have brought that up in the quarterly buildings operation construction report. So I'll just do it now. Us doing more maintenance really isn't effective, maybe in those certain areas, but those are smaller areas, so we wouldn't encounter like high costs associated with that. So it's really not cost effective for the school district to, repave the whole entire parking lot. So that would have been the B option. And then the C option you guys had asked for was to ask for help from
From the city.
other districts. Right now, it's too close. We've already they've went into contracts with people. And in the future, we'll look at that and explore those options, but it's just too close, and we only have a small window right now for this to happen, and contractors are busy. So
Can I just ask, not knowing, and I'm not judging
Mhm.
what you had said, can you just tell by looking at something whether it should be done or not? Like, or is there underneath, like, is there more to it than just going, yeah, this looks like there's some patches that need to be made versus what the eye doesn't see? And I'm not criticizing what you said.
no, it's definitely a visual. And that's kind of how we have collected that data, and we've determined which school sites need it. Also, we talk with building superintendents and ask them, hey, can you guys go another year without this? Or can you guys take care of the striping this year? So we look at all of that, but most of it's just visual.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in my observation up there obviously are cracks that need to be sealed before winter. We need to get that sealed up. But
I
if,
just know you don't
like I
like
said-
the striping.
well,
I remember
we're
that
talking
from the
about
last.
a full resurfacing and then
Just-
restriping a massive area on a parking lot. And we have schools that don't even have a parking lot at this point that are parking on dirt. So
Well, I'll make a couple of points since I see those parking lots in use on a regular basis. During the school year, there are not really low use areas. Those parking lots are constantly being used, and I see this as a preventive maintenance issue rather than let's save some money now, because taking a patch here and a patch there, and then 3 years down the road, we have huge holes where we didn't do it, and we're not working on that site And I see, where you say we've got schools that have dirt parking lots, those might be a little easier to maintain. To be able to take a grader in there and level those, but letting our parking lots fall apart, and it's a huge square footage out there with all those parking lots. I don't think we allow things to disintegrate if we have the ability to take care of them. I feel like that's like going into the, dermatologist and saying, I only want you to look at my arm this year. I've got some cancer spots there, but don't look anywhere else. Because you want to make sure you're doing preventive maintenance for everything. So my feeling is, we budgeted this. I think we take care of the things we have as well as we can, and we don't cut corners so that we regret it down the road. That's just my opinion. Any other questions on item 2.11?
In the past, we've done it on a 3-year rotation since I've been on the board. Moving to 4 years, is that going to be a big jump in the maintenance?
No,
the
it won't.
repair instead of
Just,
the maintenance?
it's maybe a blessing in disguise that you guys asked to cut those costs with the quality of material that they use now for those areas that are good, that visually look good. That material that they use now is actually a better compound and it can last longer. So we will be fine.
It won't change.
No, it won't change. It'll probably stay at the 4-year mark.
Jeff, I appreciate your comments as well, because yes, we have heard from the voters. They don't want to spend money on these kind of items. But I also agree with Teresa having, and this is obviously a little bit more personal, and I'm not trying to, make it, I represent everybody in the county, not just Spring Creek, however, and Carlin for that matter with the district, but having seen the parking lot from when my son entered Spring Creek Middle School, I don't want to see that the same parking lot when he graduates Spring Creek High School. And he will graduate. Son, if you're watching, you will graduate. So anyways, I just don't want that parking lot to be the same. But you're right. We do need to start looking at where we start saving $15 million a year in capital expenses. Stephen, thank you for that. I'm glad that 4 years is something that's going to go in there, because we do have lots that are dirt and gravel. I'd rather the ones that we have asphalted now not turn into dirt and gravel. And that may be something we have to actually look at down the road if we don't get funding. But I am in favor of this option, of this item.
I just want to echo, I appreciate everything you're doing, Jeff. I really do. Like, don't think I'm sitting across here, even if I vote yes, like, oh, that guy. Like, so it's appreciative because someone's got to bring it up and you don't have no problem bringing it up. So I don't want to extend this much longer, and I appreciate everything you're doing, trying to work with us as we get through this. Of all the, everyone does hard work, but of all the places, we're going to hit you pretty hard. So I hope you're ready for it.
Well, I appreciate the recommendation. No,
trying to
you bringing up really good points, and
And we only made up.
we're all enduring this cost cutting, and hopefully I can be here to help.
I think just knowing everyone on the board, we're doing it in good spirits. So please don't take any offense to it. But I'm in agreement. If we're going to extend this thing out, we probably need to make sure if we're going to the time frame that we're going to be on there or have it down on the ground. I think that we probably need to do our due diligence this time, and it's under our budget. And then, if we need to, let's do that. Let's look at those. How can we do in the future? How can we extend things in the future and not just pay so much, I guess? I don't know how to phrase that, but so anyways, I appreciate both of you. Just throwing that out there.
I just want to finish up with one thing, is that in no way am I suggesting that we let these parking lots deteriorate. Okay. I want to maintain them properly, but they don't have to be pretty. They can be functional and we can save money. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I put a little time into this. I drove up there and looked around. I've talked to a contractor and I've talked to another person in property maintenance. And because I had questions about this, and I had questions earlier, and both of them were, well, I guess I can't swear, but they said, holy, you know what, when I told them the price. And they both are aware of the size of the area too. So I mean, that's where I'm coming from, is I just think we could seal it up and have it be good and be functional. Doesn't have to be pretty, as long as it's safe and that we're protecting our investment.
I would ask
But I am
them
suggesting-
if they know about the 40% ad for government.
Well, they asked where,
Because
that's one thing, and they asked where those guys coming from Nebraska, or?
I mean, I don't disagree with that, but the majority of the quotes we get in compared to what we get for our businesses compared to what the government gets. Whoo.
Thank you, prevailing wage.
Anyways, okay.
Yes.
And if they have a lower bid, tell them, put in a bid next time.
Stephen, on the lower bid, in the items 2.09 and 2.10, we saw 2 bids. Here, there's only lower bid. Were there other bids submitted?
Yes, there was 2 other bids.
Okay,
So what is?
I just was wondering, and it's fine, you don't need to go into details. I just was wondering why we saw 2 on the other items, but only 1 on this one.
I guess that is something that I did not put in the report.
Okay.
Yes, there was 2
All right.
other bids.
Okay, all right.
Could you give us a ballpark on what those bids were?
Yes, one was within $15,000 over, and another one was within, it was much higher. Yeah, in the 300 plus range.
I just thought of one more question. I apologize.
Go ahead.
Do you know off the top of your head the square footage we're looking at here?
I don't,
Or even a ballpark?
I can find that.
If it's under, I don't want you to waste more than 20 seconds.
Oh, well, take a second.
Then don't worry about it. It's
Okay.
not important.
I'll get all of
I
that
think I know where we're
information
headed
next
but,
time. Yeah.
But yeah, I just, or let me know later.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, we've had lots of discussion on this item. I don't want to stop anyone from discussing, but do we want to move forward with a motion?
I will, if that's okay.
Go for it.
I move that the board accept the best bid of the FY23 asphalt maintenance, crack seal, seal coating, and striping of parking lots, roadways, and playgrounds at the following sites: Spring Creek High School, Spring Creek Middle School, and annex projects submitted by Superior Service Inc., and conditionally award the contract to the bidder, subject to timely submission to the district legal counsel of all documents required by the instructions to bidders, including the signed contract, proof of required insurance, issued performance bond, and issued payment bond.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay.
Nay.
And chair votes aye, and that motion carries. Thank you. Item 2.12 is receipt of quarterly update reports.
And if I may start my glib comment about I want to get out of here, I apologize. That was not intended at all to mean that you do not need to give us a quality report or that I don't appreciate the detail of the preceding presenters.
Now we've got a quality report for building operations and construction. I guess first on the agenda is a big ticket item. That's a Wells mechanical upgrade. That's at 99% completion. The remaining 1% would just be training, safety checks, startups, things like that.
It is turned on now though. Everything's on.
Everything's on. They've went through testing. There's still some more testing to do to balance out air quality and things like that, but we're getting
Excellent.
very close. So. Design projects, Northside Elementary is at 100% completion until bidding and construction phases are initiated. As far as the Spring Creek High School VOAG Food Science Building, that would be next on the list to go under contract and design. If you guys got any questions on that, whether we want to proceed with the contract and design or yeah, just with
Prices on 'em?
talking about budgetary constraints.
You have prices on them?
Yes, so as of the time when I think this design was brought to you, it was at like $4 million. It's doubled in price now. So those design fees are directly related to the total cost of the project. We'd be looking right around $8 million for that project as of today or 3 weeks ago. That would that would be about $400,000 in initial design fees.
I support the CTE program. I appreciate what's done there. I think that what is being done by Ms. Steele and her cadre are important. And I know that I shouldn't say pushed, I know that I advocated that we should look into this. I don't think it's responsible of us to spend half of what we have left on one project, regardless of what the outcome on that would be. I think that the entire district, we need to look at what we can get with the biggest bang for our buck for all students. And I think that we may need to keep that 15 million for another couple of years. So much as I like the project, I don't think we should pursue that, but that's just me, and I'm only one of 6. So
because they had all the equipment for that meat science lab in Spring Creek from a grant, did anybody find out if they'd have to give that back? Building wasn't built.
Actually, that hasn't been discussed. I think that
I thought that had been discussed previously, that
more about that.
the equipment that had been received through the grant did not need to necessarily be returned if the building was not built. At this point in time, there wasn't a time frame, or there wasn't a qualification on that. Am I correct on that?
As far as I know, it's in storage waiting for everyone's.
But the grantor did not say build it or return it.
No, that wasn't in the assurances, but the one thing that we need to keep in mind is when they come to do their monitoring and inventory, they're gonna go into a storage room and see all those items. So,
When who
and I
goes
do
in, when
think,
who does the monitoring and inventory? The grantor?
yes, so yeah, NDE comes, we have our financial audit one, but then we also have monitoring. So then they come on site, they look through our financial statements, our documents, and then they also go to different sites and then they look for equipment that have been purchased. That equipment was purchased 2 years ago. We were monitored last year. So they haven't came this year. I don't foresee them coming, but I don't know. But that is one thing to take into consideration. We have spoke to our program analyst about budget concerns when it comes to our CTE programs and what the district is facing. They have not been aware of what our future looks like at this point. So I do think that I don't think that they would be returning the funds. If anything, I think they would be more willing to help us and find additional options. But at this point too, it's kind of a fine line where we want to go with that.
Okay, thank you. I certainly don't advocate shelving the project completely. I mean, if we can find a 80% funder, maybe we can say, yeah, we can put $1.6 million towards this or something. Again, I'm just one of 6. I'm not trying to give direction one way or the other, but the county has spoken. The county residents do not want us spending money. These are the impacts of that. So if the county residents have $8 million lying around, we can complete this project potentially. And I appreciate your efforts, Cassie, thank you.
I'm in agreement with you on the spending, obviously.
Don't stripe the parking lots, but build an $8 million cooler.
That minivan runs great, though.
Can that equipment be reallocated to something else? I mean, some other way? I mean, like, we're just sitting in a storage center, like
Air conditioner and wells.
yeah, right.
We actually just had the same conversation this week about our Chromebooks. We've bought in previous year multiple Chromebooks for the CTE programs. And then now the district does a 1-to-1 ratio, but since it's under a grant program, we're not allowed to use those Chromebooks and redistribute them for other programs around the district. So we've asked right now, the Chromebooks are sitting in a cart somewhere getting dust. And NDE's resolution to that was to get the equipment and then redistribute it to other schools within the state. So they would take it back.
So yeah, so if we couldn't use this equipment, then they would potentially redistribute it throughout
Mhm.
to somewhere that could.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with what other districts have meat processing facilities or.
Okay. Mr. Allen?
Clark County got a whole bunch of money.
Yeah. Yes, they did.
Maybe they'd like to buy some.
I know Spring Creek High School was in some discussions because we lost another CTE teacher and we're probably not going to be able to fill that. It's a AutoCAD drafting. Just can't find those people. He had 2 rooms that Mr. Smith had come to Mr. McEnany and I and said maybe he could use those rooms if it was going to mean that they lost that equipment that had been purchased. So that's something that I know. Well, I haven't been out there for a couple of weeks, but we were in those discussions, seeing if maybe that was an option too, so we didn't lose that equipment.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you
Mr.
for the
Anderson.
creative
Mr. Anderson.
look at that.
I default to you. That seems like a site type.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I like that the site is being creative in their problem solving. I think they've seen the writing on the wall and have started to think of other options. And if there's some way we can utilize existing space that wouldn't cost $8 million, that'd be good. And so this is like a very new discussion, but yeah, I appreciate Paul coming up and saying something. I was going to interject there, but Paul's boots on the ground there in Spring Creek for the last decade or so. So he took a couple, I was speaking as an administrator, I guess. Yeah. So more than that, but yeah, he's very familiar with there. And I know that's been part of the conversations too. We're looking at ways we can still utilize that. And we do have other schools that might be able to use that equipment as well, just depending on, I don't know what Wells equipment shape is like right now, but that I would imagine that under that grant it wasn't for a specific school per se. Or was it? Are you nodding that? So it had to be for that school? It wasn't for the district? Okay. I think that's silly, but that's okay. I stand corrected by the grants.
Before they would take the equipment and redistribute it, they would be more willing to give it to another CTE program within the district.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying is maybe I can't imagine they would rather take it halfway across the state to another district CTE program when we could put it on one of our trucks and drive it down I-80 a little bit, I guess is what I was getting at. I would hope not. I might go Jeff's way and use a word stronger than silly. If that was their suggestion.
That's very
Did you just say
professional.
silly? Yeah. So anyway.
Stupid's my word. Right?
Yes, it was. I know you have others in the arsenal as well.
I don't know that we need a formal motion on this, but perhaps a recommendation that, research continues at the site. Sounds like they've already got some things potentially going where they're hoping to be able to use that and continue to serve that student population because they've already got the equipment. And if they can make things work, then maybe we need to bring that back to the board when they've got some ideas and maybe they're like, hey, we need to retrofit these classrooms and it's going to cost us X amount. Then maybe could that come back to the board and we could look at it then? Like I said, I don't think we need a formal motion, but just a recommendation to look at different options with that particular project.
Yeah. that would
And
be a
certainly
recommendation.
certainly don't put it on the shelf, but yeah. Is the board okay with such a
I
recommendation?
concur.
Okay.
All right. I'll just move on to the next item. This is a good topic. It's the Spring Creek Elementary Playground. So as a district, we reached out to Big T Recreation. They're a playground company. They build playgrounds, school facilities and other places. They just made recommendations that we could do. They came to our site and gave us a square footage cost estimate from them. They feel like with gas prices and things like that, they would not be able to do it for a price that we could get locally. So we've contacted local contractors and we're requesting quotes from them right now as we speak, and hopefully we can start that project within the weeks. Right now it'd just be an excavation, level and compact it, and then we could install plastic boarded timbers or concreted borders around the play area, and then install EWF which is engineered wood fiber chips over the entire play area, and some sidewalks. So that's where we're at with the Spring Creek Elementary Playground.
Just quick to clarify, a lot of the money for that project came from the PTA or is going to come from the PTA and fundraising that they've been doing.
Yeah,
on that
so
site.
the first phases of this, the district will endure those costs. And also we will ask from the PTA, whatever contributions that they can make, we would greatly appreciate it. And once I get like a total project cost and submit that to them, then maybe they can counter.
Okay.
And that project cost will come back to the board first?
Honestly, right now, I can bring it back to the board. I just don't think it'll be very high. So.
Okay. Is there a threshold? Do we give, does the board give authority to say if it's below X amount, just do it?
The thresholds that I'm aware of are the ones that are statutory for bidding processes. Beyond that, I'm not aware of a threshold for which we must come to the board or do not need to come to the board. Make a note and review and see if that's in policy anywhere. If the board has to be, could be, because as you can imagine, the board does not need to, nor would you want to approve every expense that goes through our operations department. So yeah, I'll look into that for you.
Great.
We
You got
do it in a way
prices?
already with the budget though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You see the accounts payable and how money goes through there. And then if you have questions about one of those, then you can ask. But yeah, as far as getting, I guess I meant approving prior to purchase or implementation. So let me look into that just a little bit. But I think the answer is no. There's not.
Thanks. And sorry, Stephen, please continue.
Oh, you're fine.
Stephen, before you go any farther,
Go ahead.
and I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, the lady that talked at one of the budget meetings a while back, and she was concerned about the playground, and she said, I know local contractors. Did you speak with her or get names of local contractors? I just wondered what happened with that part.
I did not speak with her. I spoke with the principal directly, Michelle O'Rourke. I don't believe that she'll be at that school site anymore. So we'll move on to a new principal and probably a new PTA, but I will reach out to them and let them know where we're at in the project design. So
Okay, I just remember, and maybe I'm not remembering.
And I
thought
may
she
have her contact
about,
information.
I know people that can help, like I don't know if it would be for free, but discounts or whatever. So maybe if she's out there listening, she can contact someone. Thank you.
all right.
One thing I want to add in there, just so we're clear, is there's a lot more that could be done on that playground project that was initially proposed, but the stuff we're talking about is not aesthetic in nature. It is safety in nature. So I think that's an important thing to point out.
All right, I'll move on to the next topic. That was asphalt maintenance cost cutting. I think we went over that, and I'll take
Build that one.
Jeff's recommendations and Josh, Matt, the whole board's recommendations into consideration when we go out for bid for something like this again. The facilities master plan, MGT Consulting, is somebody that we contracted out with, and you guys are probably wondering where our results are. I received an email 2 days ago, and they said they are working on enrollment projections and demographic analysis they should be coming our way within the next few weeks. After that, we would go to community engagement, and that will start late July. So that'll be starting on July 26th.
That's our master plan.
So yes, that's our facilities master plan.
Do you know how they're going to do the community engagement? by
I
chance?
don't actually know exactly what they'll do.
I can interject a little bit. Well, I also don't know the exact way they'll coordinate it. Part of the initial proposal that was in that big document that we looked at once upon a time indicated that there would be one virtual in nature, and I believe that is the first one they're going to do with each community, and then there will be an in-person opportunity as well. So
They were gonna do some focus group stuff too.
yeah. Yeah, so there will be a little bit of both. And my understanding is they're starting with virtual. And so whether that's Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Meet or whatever, I can't tell you that specifically, but something that anyone from anywhere within that community will be able to voice. And I really, I actually was talking with Stephen about this a little earlier today. Like, we need to make, I assure you, we will make a priority of intensely promoting those opportunities. Almost as intensely as some of our stuff has been opposed. So I will make sure nobody will be able to say that they were ill-informed of what's going on here. So, gotcha. Okay, got you covered there.
Yep, you definitely covered it. Just to add on to that, there will be 7 on-site visits and 7 of them will be virtual. So, as well as 2 online surveys. And I guess that concludes the operation and constructions report.
Stephen, I just want to thank you for everything you do and being prepared and having us, us informed and everything too. So just because I oppose something doesn't mean I don't appreciate what you do.
No, I appreciate it too.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. Any other questions before he goes?
Thank you, Stephen.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, board.
Cody Karnka.
Hi, everybody. The best report I could give is if I was here last year, because I'm guessing right now everybody's wondering how we're doing, where we're at with hiring, and the best way to see how we are in June is to tell you how we did last year in June. Unfortunately, we don't have a snapshot of what's going on at the end of the month of June, because last year we were doing with a lot of other things. So what I am going to tell you is what we've got right now, and then I'll tell you what we ended up with, meaning what we started with. Right now we have 92 openings in the certified section of staff. We've filled 113 positions. Of those 113 positions, 489 of those are new hires. So you're probably doing some math there, how we get those every time. For instance, when I moved up to Central, it creates a position. So those transfers are in there. We also have currently 5 offers of employment out. Last year, when I was looking at how many positions we didn't fill, because obviously 92 is a lot and probably makes you a little nervous, as it would anybody. Last year, we had 71 positions carried over. So we had 71 positions that weren't filled that our principals and our other admin figured out ways to teach those kids and fill those positions. Last year, we also had 101 new hires. So that's the largest discrepancy that I can see coming with the current 49 that we've only hired so far. And a new hire is someone outside the district that we brought into the district, or someone that happens to be in Elko County that's new to our Elko County community. All right, pretty simple.
Something to probably keep in mind about discrepancy in new hire is you will probably recall there were significant signing bonuses that people were able to take advantage of. And I'm just going to make a wild guess that that we were able to attract some more candidates last year when you're getting a signing bonus of 15,000 here or 5,000 there, and that makes a difference. So it was nice to have those ESSER funds to do that last year, and we were in very high need for it. Obviously, that's not sustainable moving forward every year with what we currently have, but just thought I'd give that little bit of context. It's not that we're doing a terrible job of promoting or anything of the sort, but I think it stands to reason that probably has an effect on things.
It doesn't help when other districts get more money and raise their starting pay either.
No,
Certainly does not.
No, it doesn't help. You're
Just
right.
a little news blurb I read about down south.
I also read that news blurb. Mhm.
They didn't let the dust settle.
They have $100 million that they stole from,
Closer to two.
reallocated from
Okay.
other districts.
Look at
Sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Krinka, the 101 new hires last year, was that at a specific point in time, or is that just total hires
Total,
throughout the
that
year?
was total from last year. We had 101 new hires.
Well, the good news is that you have another
Month,
6. Well, that was through all of last year, right? So
so
you've got,
2 months.
I was giving you more credit than that. I was giving you 13 months to get to the end of next
to
year
the end,
to
well,
find 51 more people.
Okay, well, I think
53,
101
I
new
guess.
years is school year, so I was gonna go with the September on that one.
And just so you're aware of kind of the timeline is we do our best to make sure, not only do our best, but it's like a requirement. It's statutory to make sure you do your best to get the most highly qualified people in the classrooms. And so, but at a certain point, as you can imagine, you have to balance the need or the desire and the requirement to have highly qualified teachers or other certified personnel in classrooms with schools about to start in X number of days. Let's come up with another plan, because that doesn't seem to be happening. So from our standpoint, we've got about another month. It's about August 1st when we stop crossing our fingers on applications coming in, and we start taking action with other, revamping schedules, doing 0 hours, contacting long-term subs, starting to think of contingency plans. But we will be adamantly searching, and principals will continue to interview and seek out the best candidates over the next month or so before we start shifting gears to plan B, or I know you like option C sometimes, Jeff, so maybe you plan C.
I have a joke I can't tell.
Well, Cody, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? For Lisa?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
sir.
Cody.
I'm next on the list. So I'll have a special services update. I guess the last one that I'll be given before I shift over to my new position. So I'll start with, I think where I actually left off in the last quarterly update. And we had just started working on getting applications for extended school year. Last time I talked with you, we are now just days away from the start of extended school year. So over that course of time, everybody in the department has worked pretty hard to get everything set up there. Extended school year officially starts July 5th, so next Tuesday. It runs Monday through Thursday for the next 4 weeks after that. We have approximately 170 students signed up, 57 staff members between teachers, paras, nurses, et cetera. ASY will take place at Northside, Liberty Peak Elementary, Wells, Jackpot, and Windover. So lots of sites. Dr. Higbee and myself will be making visits on a Friday morning. We have a work day for all those staff members. They'll be working on Friday. So we'll be checking in, making sure everything's ready to rock for the kids showing up on Tuesday. Second thing that I had would just to give you an update of what's going on, and we've been working on over the course of the spring is we put a committee together to create a case manager handbook is what it's called for all our special education case managers out there to provide them with some guidance, increase the consistency of how we're operating, how we're doing things
we're spread out so far geographically. It's nice sometimes to have a document that can really serve as guidance to keep everybody doing things as consistently as possible. So we're working on that. That's going to be ready to go when the teachers get back in August. So we'll have that. And then we've also worked over the course of the year and then are still working on putting together the final plans for some trainings for all of our special education staff, certified and classified folks. We gathered input throughout the year on what things they needed trainings on. And so then we've used the spring here to contact providers, start working out logistics and put together some trainings for our people moving forward for next school year. So those are the big highlights of what's been going on and will continue to go on in special services.
Any questions?
Could you just repeat the number of staff for those 170 students?
About 57.
Okay, I didn't catch it. Thank you.
I just have one. Your beard, sir, is coming fantastic. Welcome to the club.
Say that again.
Your beard.
Oh,
is
thank you.
coming in.
Thank you for noticing.
Yes.
My
And
wife feels differently,
Yeah.
but
Just continue to grow that out. It'll become majestic one day.
thanks, Josh. I appreciate that.
For the
He said
record,
it-
I was on the same page a minute ago and slightly regretting. that I-
He's at Ignite Life
Come back.
Chiropractic. You can send your wife there so she can give words to him if you need. As you encourage him to grow it out against his wife's wishes.
Oh, Ray,
Wow.
I
Ray,
will.
thank you. You don't give us a chance to, ask you for questions. So
Yeah.
I guess you're just going to leave with a compliment.
Yeah.
Make it run.
That's what you get.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, Dr. Byers. I do not want to compliment on my beard. For the elementary education world, this fourth quarter, I've been working with Mr. Smith and NNR PDP to restructure and plan for RISE, which is our induction program for our new hires. I've also been working with Sarah Sanders, a counselor at Spring Creek High School, to re-implement meetings for counselors for the upcoming school year. And we're currently working on setting agendas for the meetings and updating the information on the counselor Google Drive. Elementary summer school has also been a key focus of mine these past 9 weeks. I've created a Google Sheet for principals, teachers, and various departments like transportation and health to use for planning and tracking summer school students. Fourth quarter was really busy. However, I'm hoping my efforts to get a jump on planning and scheduling and to streamline information will have a positive impact on these programs. Does anybody have any questions about RISE, summer school, or what we've been doing, my work with Sarah and the counselors?
What kind of restructuring are you doing with RISE?
It used to run Monday through Friday. We restructured the week so it runs Wednesday through Tuesday. 3 days are going to be like mini workshops and in-person training, and 2 days are going to be on campus. The dates for RISE are going to be August 17th through the 23rd.
Just a question as far as working with Sarah out in Spring Creek. I know the counselors are working on finding a curriculum for everybody across the district. How's the progress going on that? Or is that's still down the road a little bit?
Yeah, that's very down the road, and we'll look at that this year.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Turner.
Hi.
All
That's
right.
it?
I think
just wanna
that's
say
it.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
yeah.
Oh,
Thanks. Yeah,
you're
no,
welcome.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
I thought you said, okay, Mrs. Turner, I was ready for you.
Nope, thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, that's all.
All right, thank you.
All right. Unless anyone has anything else, we will move on to item 3.1, which is our consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to say it's tradition that I don't say anything because it's Ira's until he's gone. So that's like his motion every time. So if I won't be saying any of that. I won't make a motion on that until he's moved from his chair. So
Are we talking consent or anything?
But just the consent
Just
agenda.
okay.
That's like
Consent.
his thing. Like
Got it.
he always moves to approve that. So anyways.
I don't see anyone else jumping up with, any comments, so we will proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and the consent agenda is approved. Item 4.1 is a report from our NASB director.
Nothing to add since the last meeting. I don't think I've got an email in the last, since the last meeting, so.
All right. Well, that one's quick. Moving on, we'll go to item 4.2, items from board members.
Well, I'll just keep going then. Then it just went blank. I just want to thank everybody for their input and for answering my questions. And I hope I'm not too much of a thorn in the side. I really am just here trying to do best for our district and for our kids and for our budget. And you will see a lot more of this from me in the future as far as questioning expenses and looking really closely. And I'm going to try and put more time into them. And I also, though, I want you to know that I respect every one of your votes. And once an item's passed, it's passed. And I agree with you 100% and I'll support you 100%. So, but I will do my best to, ask the hard questions, to point out things that I see that just don't look right to me. And I think that's why I'm up here. And I'm going to continue to do that. And I just want to, thank you guys for your support too. And I also want to say, for the folks in Spring Creek, it's nothing to do with, it just happens to be that that's the one up for bid. That's the only one I'm looking at. I love Spring Creek and it's a really, really nice facility over there. And it definitely does deserve to be maintained, as best as we can. So I just want to look at different ways in the future, how we can do that and still maintain the budget that we need to make sure that the kids get the education. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether they park in the dirt or whether they park on asphalt, as long as they're getting the good, proper education that we owe to them. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other items from board members?
I do. Somebody else doesn't. Just wanted to say I attended the adult high school graduation, which was very nice. They haven't had that in a while. So, and it was good to have it at the new Elko High School building in the Fine Arts building. So that was very nice. And then I have one other thing to do with the STARS program. So I just want to let mainly the public know the STARS program, the gift certificate, everything that goes along with it is not out of any fund from the school district. So we rely on donations from individuals or businesses. So Julie has set up its successfund.com/ECSD stars. And so you can go in and make a contribution. And then Julie has put what we need each month for the two recipients of those items and a rough estimate of the cost of those. So if there, and I see that there's been $25 donated so far. And that's, I think, with no advertising it. I'm not sure anyone knows about it. So I encourage people to go do that if you can, or businesses as well, because if we don't get any donations, we don't have a STARS program. So, and
Can you
we'd like
repeat
to
that
start
address?
It's successfund.com/ECSD stars.
Thank you.
And I think, I can't remember what Julie told me though. There's a link on the website, but I don't know if it's on the homepage. I can't remember where it's at. So I'm not sure.
We haven't linked it to the website.
Oh.
yet. We're still working on that.
Okay. Well, then that's why I don't know where it is. Okay. Thank you for setting that up. I think it'll be great because you can make your donation all kinds of different ways. So I think it'll be helpful. That's great. And Julie, thank you again. I'm not sure when you sleep. So anything else, Susan? No, just thank you. Like Jeff said, thank you to everyone. I appreciate the updates and everything. All right. Any other items from board members?
I'm gonna make it brief because it's 8 o'clock. So first of all, speaking of the clock, thank you, Mac, for updating that. It's been contentious for me being 5 minutes off for a couple months now. So anyways, I appreciate that. I did want to get a shout out to Mr. Wickersham. I did a EHS visit and we had a great conversation. It was supposed to be maybe about 15 minutes, turned into about 2 hours. So got a lot of information. I fully appreciate that. It was good. And then Do want to give a shout out to the 4th of July fireworks in Elko. They are going to be fantastic. Someone today was like, you can actually go watch them at the fairgrounds. And I told them yes. So I encourage people to go out and see that. The ground show is always amazing. Those guys do a fantastic job. We have bought box seats to that for maybe 6 years now from the business and love it every time. And the last thing is thank you guys. The district continues to open. I continue to see things. We continue to see communication. We continue to see children doing better. This is all for the betterment. Less and less am I getting what's the district doing for kids, and more I'm getting for what can we do for the district. And so I think we're going in the right direction, and that's truly a good thing. So, and that's hard work of everyone here at the district. So from you guys all the way down. So I appreciate it. So that's all I got.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else, or should I move on?
Oh, yeah. No, I've got
Go
something.
ahead. Go
All
ahead.
right. I'll try to also make this brief. Exactly. I can yell loud enough. Anyways, the student insurance plan that was mentioned earlier today, parents, community, please make sure that people know about it, be aware of it, use it when you need it. It's there and it should be used. This is just more of a encouragement, not at all a direction. However, using the tools that Pool provides for, and keeping in mind that I have not been in the shoes of a K through 12 educator. When we meet for the strategic planning, don't know what the impact will be, though I think we do. At least I like the idea of the mandatory classes. If we're already doing that, then I apologize for repeating it, but I like that mandatory training, and I like the idea that Mr. Call had of splitting it up between a third or a quarter, however it works. I don't know, again, logistics, don't know any of that, but I do like the idea of that, because keeping it fresh in the minds of folks, I think, is important. Last thing I want to say is our very own Sergeant Bribieska did an amazing job with Fleet, Future Law Enforcement Academy training. My son attended that, and I had not even put the vehicle in gear yet. And he said, can I go again next year? So when a 15-year-old, I almost called him 13. Wow, he'd have been mad. When a 15-year-old says, hey, can I do that again next year? I think that's a ringing endorsement. So to you and the rest of the law enforcement and emergency personnel team that put that on, well done. So thank you very much. I think that's all I have, Madam President. That's all you.
Thank you. Ira, anything?
I'm gonna keep it short.
All right.
Good.
That was it. All right. I'll just say thank you for enduring. Thank you for the reports. It's great to have those updates. We'll move on to item 5.1, our superintendent's report.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Got a list. It's not real long, though. Don't worry. I want to clarify a couple things real quick these are both of a joking nature, just so we're clear. Number one, I did not refer to you as challenging to our Pool Pact friends. I did refer to you as people with active question muscles, but I did not say you were a challenge. So I want to make sure that's clear.
I heard it. Not that we are challenged.
Well, I didn't say that either. I said you have active question muscles. That's all I said. So, and then he said, I like a challenge. So, I can't be held responsible for how he interprets the information I deliver to him.
I got his card. I'm going to ask.
And I think I accurately described you as well. So, but it was not as challenging or a challenge. And then Jeff, well, I'll leave that other one. Never mind. I'm gonna pass on number 2. I'll give you that joke later. Okay. So a couple of new important hires I just want to make sure you're aware of, since I've informed you of other administrative hires across the district. We interviewed last week for both Carlin Combined Schools principal and Wells Combined School principal. At Carlin, they're previously serving Vice Principal Jesse Sabo was chosen as the candidate or the recipient. My words are failing me. He was chosen to be the next principal of Carlin Combined School. And then a very similar result happened in Wells. Bob Woolsey, a lot of people know Bob, long time resident of Wells and basketball referee and everything else. Bob does a lot in that community, and Bob was chosen as the new principal of Wells. He was serving this year as the dean of students up there, and he's now going to be serving as the principal. And a couple of great guys with a lot of years of
Great
experience.
choice. I met him at graduation and was, he was
Yeah.
excited to interview. They were excited that there were interviews. So that's good.
Yeah, I've been getting some compliments about how I'm giving interviews, and I'm like, no, you're welcome. I feel like it's literally the bare minimum I can do. But you know what? If it makes people happy, I'm glad they're happy. And saw a lot of what I will say from both of those interviews, while they went very differently, both of those communities care very much and are very passionate about making sure their kids have opportunities, support, recognition. They love their community. And so appreciate the people that have passion for their community. And we hope that our administrators will match that and support those schools. I was going to talk about Success Fund a little bit, but Susan nailed it. Paper, I've talked about paper once or a couple times before. We have officially launched it as like a soft launch for some kids to use in summer school. We are going to really emphasize this again in August, but we're really going to advertise it. It's a resource that we're paying for with it's grant funds, right, Cassie? Paper, yeah, ESSER funds. Okay, thank you. She corrected me the last time I asked her a question, so I'm glad I got that one right. But an amazing online tutoring resource all the time. And a lot of people immediately skip to, oh, that'll be great when my kid's doing their homework at 8 at night or whatever. But the reality is our teachers can utilize that within the classroom all the time. As a teacher with 28 kids and it's just me and I'm working with this small group over there and I have some kids doing independent work and you got kids that have needs everywhere. Paper has like a less than a minute response time when you ask a question. And so a kid within class, when they're having trouble and maybe the teacher's a little busy at the moment or they're working on something else, kids will be able to access that tutoring all the time, whenever. Turning in papers to get reviewed, to get opinions on, how they can fix their essay, that sort of thing, all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they get immediate response time. So, yeah, just an amazing resource to have. So it's very little known right now, but we're going to continue to promote that because it's an absolutely valuable resource. Hopefully people take advantage of it. I know I will because my son is starting to get old enough that his math is beyond my recollection of math in school. I can hang with algebra a little bit, but it's about to surpass my abilities. So I'm going to make sure he go to paper, man. So anyway, just want to keep you aware that that's going, but very slowly at the moment. Let's see. So by the end of this week, we will be submitting our state required district emergency operations plan. Pool presentation briefly kind of referenced that in there. That is an example of something we take advantage of every year and we utilize every year as a service that Pool provides. The emergency operations plan is roughly 260 pages long. And with every little piece of state bill or assembly bill or NAC or NRS that changes, there are often things that affect our emergency operations plan from one aspect or another. And Jeff Kay, the gentleman that Alan mentioned, who handle that, they contract him in the school safety operations, I think they're called. He is essential in basically advising us and making sure that our operations plan is legal and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And so Paul Allen this last week or two with a little help from Keith as he was waving out the door, and with Jeff, have been making sure that that plan will be ready and submitted on time. So we'll get that turned in. And just to answer your question, Matt, other things we do with the training already, every year there are required classes that all employees have to take. We use it, the safe schools that he mentioned. We have how many do we have to take? It feels like it's usually 8 to a dozen or something like that we take every year. They typically are at the beginning of the year. And so, but yeah, some of them, actually, now that I think about it, some are due in August, some are due in October, and I think there's a couple more that are due maybe in February or something like that. So some people opt to do them all at once because that way you don't forget and get in trouble. But we do have a battery of Safe Schools courses that we already utilize and do so every year. Additionally, so I mentioned Jeff K before. Jeff K will come here in the fall to do a vulnerability assessment of our campuses. Jeff K is also going to come speak to our administrators in September for an emergency operations training with every single admin. So I've reached out to Pool about doing investigation training with our administrators and with HR. And so they're a resource that we rely heavily on for those things. And instead of having to, I don't know, get someone from, I know a guy in Florida who does investigation trainings, but that's going to cost to make that happen. And Pool is often very flexible with when we need them. So they're very helpful in that way. And so, I just want to make sure you're aware that we are making use from a training standpoint. I mean, you can always do more, I suppose, or better with what time you have. But we utilize them. They helped with we did active shooter trainings a couple of years ago. They came in and helped take care of that. Like we use them. So I just want to make sure you guys know that we're taking advantage of those from a training our staff standpoint.
Is there something we as the board should be taking?
Yeah, there's probably some good ones on there for you to look at.
You can give us some recommendations that might be something good that we as a board.
I'd be happy to. I think if I'm not mistaken, when you go to look, they do have them kind of categorized by what role you have. And I think there are some that are very specifically labeled as, recommended for board members, but I'd be happy to point you towards that. Let me make a little note for myself. Board training works. Okay. And I think that was everything I had for you. So missed you guys a couple weeks ago. So it's great to be here with you again. And yeah, I know. Do I look better in person or on the screen? Be honest. You don't even want to comment on how I look, do you? Does that make you nervous? Okay, thank you. All right, appreciate it. It's probably because I'm wearing the suit instead of whatever t-shirt I had on in Tahoe. Actually, I don't even think I had my camera on. I can't remember. I did. It was. That's right. Because I almost blinded you with the sunlight at one point. I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I've got way off topic. So great to be here with you again. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your kind words for all of those hardworking people over there. And thank you for trusting us with the important work we do.
Can I ask you a couple questions?
You may.
About the board meeting. So we're back to being able to travel to the outlying areas, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the other question I have, and I might have, for some reason, I'm not hearing everything tonight. So did I hear we're not doing one-on-one computers or?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
You did not hear that. I'm assuming when Cassie was talking about grants.
No,
So I'll answer that one first. So what she was saying, you can correct me again if I'm wrong, but I think I followed. What she was saying was CTE had purchased some Chromebooks for their programs. Then with COVID, a whole lot of Chromebooks were purchased to make sure our schools were all one-to-one. And those CTE Chromebooks could only be used for CTE things. We already had our kids taken care of from a one-to-one standpoint. Therefore, those would be distributed to potentially other schools in the state. Is that, yeah, you're okay.
They're currently sitting in a Chromebook.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out
They're sitting there because, yeah,
Yep,
they
that's fine.
can't, the CTE doesn't need them from a number standpoint. They have enough. And we, through grants and ESSER funds and other things, our students are all at 1-to-1.
Okay, I'm glad I asked because I was
Mhm.
like, did I hear? So
And then with your schedule, with the board meeting schedule, yes, we are going to return to our
that's great.
regularly scheduled programming of going to,
Good.
going out to Jackpot for a meeting and going out to Wendover for a meeting and going out to everywhere for a meeting,
Yeah.
of the outlying communities, I should say. All of the Elko and for Spring Creek, Elko, those all take place here. But for the other communities, we will have one meeting, and those are strategically scheduled around what our best guess is of weather and making sure we're not endangering ourselves. But
Do we ever
Who
go to
knows?
Spring Creek? I mean, I know they can come in, but it would be convenient for them sometimes if we were just there.
to my knowledge, we haven't done board meetings in Spring Creek. I don't know if anyone who's been around longer than me remembers that.
Yeah. It might be a thought,
Yeah, maybe it's time
Just
to get back
because-
out there.
20 miles in is
You
$100
can almost
in
run,
gas
you can
right
run
now.
that far. I think it's okay if we
Seems so far away. I don't know if I can drive.
No,
over
just
there.
trying
You
to
know what
make
I
it
mean? Like,
convenient
over a
for
summit.
people.
I mean,
I am not opposed to it. I think so. The
Yeah,
lovely,
we can
the
go check
lovely
out the new parking
Cassie
lot.
Exactly.
Cassie helped set up that schedule, and I believe we were pretty much following the pattern of what had been done in recent years. So,
I mean, you know how they have Starbucks on every corner. So if we have a school board meeting in every corner, there you go.
oh,
I know
maybe we could
that
ask Spring Creek if someone would like to host a meeting out there and we can
I
go from
know
there.
that Mac will curse any other meetings that take place outside of this facility because that means work
Exactly.
for IT to have to set up the capabilities for that meeting.
I know.
But
It's hard.
but yeah, he'll figure it out
He will.
if
will.
if you direct us to do that. So, but that's the schedule unless you have changes you would like to make.
I just have two things. I have two questions. One, do you know, as far as the paper program, is that an app that's just uploaded to Chromebooks, or they'll go to a web page, or like during school hours? Do we have any idea yet? Logistics?
I believe that we talked about having a button kind of, so the kids, when they open up their Chromebook, they have like Clever, which has a whole bunch of links to different platforms that our district has subscriptions with. And Paper talked about having an option on there. Someone can shake their head if I'm speaking out of turn, but okay, we're good. It's supposed to be easy access because we understand. We especially those of us who've worked with the kids before, if it's too difficult to get to, you might as well not even have it because they're gonna, especially younger kids, like if they need help getting there, then I mean, I'm already at the desk. Why don't I just answer your question for you, right? So it's going to be very accessible, and Paper from their research and implementation across districts and schools everywhere. Basically, once a teacher has given like 3 exposures to kids in a classroom, all of a sudden the frequency with which that platform gets used increases drastically because you, just like anything else, you're gonna have to teach your kids how to get into an email. You're gonna have to teach your kids how to access your course in Canvas. But once you do that a few times, they know how to get it. They figure it out, especially kids today. They're very tech savvy, and so it'll just be a matter of teachers embracing the program and familiarizing their students with it.
Other thing, you briefly went over, and I just want to make sure that it's really important. And bear with me as I ask this question. So district employees through the pool program, they go through annual training on things. So they're not just like hired and then released for 30 some odd years without training. There's actual annual training that they do.
So Cody, you've been in the district how many years? How many times have you taken the Safe Schools courses? Yeah. So it's every year. You have to do it every year.
Okay. I just want to make sure that many are aware. I mean, at 8:20 at night, maybe not too many people. Maybe people reviewing this will understand that there is training outside of that. So Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that they do training that is generally accepted. Okay, anyway, sorry. I digress. All right.
Accurate.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Anderson? I guess my only question is, have we done a risk assessment on paper to make sure that there's no way for a cyber attack to come, or for those students to have, someone hack that system and a student gets someone they don't want on the other end of that tutor?
Oh, sorry. A risk assessment with the company paper. Is that what you're asking? Okay.
Not a
I'm
risk
just
on
saying,
paper.
just in general, like.
I thought you said a risk assessment paper and I was
no.
like, I don't know what
No,
paper
the
she's referring
company.
to.
We're
Gotcha.
talking
Cuts
about
like
the
a
company.
knife.
Yeah. So they have, yes, so they're very secure. And they also have a very, they have like a feature that records and transcripts every single interaction a kid has with a tutor. So that way, if there's ever any question as to what went on during that session, whether that was from the new acronym I learned tonight, SAM, whether there's something from SAM, or if there's, let's say, like the tutor just sucks and is giving inaccurate information and not we can complain to paper and say, hey, we had a dissatisfied customer with what happened, and they have people that look into what, they'll go find that event, they'll look into it. And so they have systems built into place to help protect kids in various ways.
Great. That answers my question. All right, we'll move on then to
Matt's
item.
got a question.
If I may,
Son.
I'm so sorry. I know. It just came up now, right? Hey, you turned it on last time, so I should turn on my mic instead of turn it off. Paper. Is there something the community can do to help become a tutor? Because if 10,000 students start utilizing paper, we're going to find a bottleneck at some point. What are the qualifications? Do you know anything on that? What can we do to encourage?
No, they could reach out to the company paper if they would like to become part of that. I will say this, they have, I can't remember the number of tutors, but it's like the number of tutors that they have available for you to choose from are in the tens of thousands, and they are from all over the world, which is why you can have someone log in at midnight and get help with your calculus, because that's probably not a person that lives in New York, but maybe they live in Germany, and so they're awake and available at that time. And they also offer it in a ton of languages too. So if you are a family or a child who has, maybe you learn better in other languages at this point in your educational path, then you have options.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Now we'll move on to item 6.1, approval of the accounts payable.
I move to approve the accounts payable.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussion? Good. I don't see any. So all in favor of approving the accounts payable, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And I should have asked for any abstentions or disclosures on that particular item. Okay, that motion carries. I will disclose on the additional accounts payable for Wells Rural Electric. I have a family member who is employed by Wells Rural Electric, so I will be abstaining.
I move to approve Wells Rural accounts payable.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Yes, thank you. Any other questions? All in favor of approving the Wells Rural accounts payable, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair abstains and the motion carries. Item 7.1 is an opportunity for public comment. Thank you. We will just carry on to adjournment of the meeting. Thank you for joining us here and virtually, and have a wonderful evening, great week, great summer.
And happy Independence Day.
Yes. I was gonna say, oh.
Put a cell number on that.
We'll
That's right. You give me the challenge.
Okay, these are the resolutions.
sign this.